Are people able to hear me now? I hope so. I don't know what the hell happened. I just had the most stressful 20 minutes of my life, though. I have no idea why it started working. I was doing exactly the same things that I was doing, and then it just started working. I mean, I was literally doing the same thing over and over again, going like, just connect. Like, there's no other way I know how to make this thing connect. Anyway, welcome to the Sword and the Pen Reflections. If you aren't watching this live, I'm starting 20 minutes late on account of being unable to get my software to connect. For some reason, it was saying that there was no connection, and then it was saying that there were multiple connections, and then it locked me out of my Google account, and it's a big old mess, but whatever. Let's just go ahead and get started. So quickly, first off, this is my 4th episode, and I have no plan for it. Actually, the plan is that I have no real plans, and so I kind of wanted to get a feel from everybody what they would like to see come from my channel next. So let's see. I first got to go over the 3 quick rules. We're just going to zing through them since we're starting so late. I think I'll carry this on an extra 20 minutes so that it's a full 2 hours, and maybe people who figured, oh, it must have been canceled and took off, they'll come back and be like, oh, hey, it's still on. So, okay, rule number 1. Keep it tame in the comments, please. I cannot monetize this if there's like foul language or anything like that. Just pretend grandma is reading your comments and we should all be good. Rule number 2 is tag me to address me directly. So you're going to have to use @theswordandthepen reflections with no spaces. And I know that's really long, but that's how it works. And the rule number 3 is, if I could make it appear, tell me if I mess up. I cannot hear myself or anything. So if it's too quiet or anything like that, just let me know. If it's too loud, if it's booming, just let me know. I will do my best to fix that. But anyway, so as I said, there are no rules for this particular chat, so it's all going to be freestyle. Talk about anything. I'd love to have some of your suggestions for videos that you would like to see me do. The 3 that I put up as my options for I could do any of these 3, I'm doing the Moiraine and Theon Greyjoy video. That one was the one that won the poll. People wanted to see that one first. It's the Theon Greyjoy treatment, or just the Greyjoy treatment, where I'll talk about how do you make Moiraine likable again. Like, what would it take at this point for show Moiraine to be made likable again? But the other 2 options I also plan to do. I just wanted to figure out which one to put out first. But I'd love to get some feedback, maybe on some other shows and things, because I feel like maybe people are getting burned out a little bit. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to some of these comments I got. All right, just going to quickly catch up. Is it Nixian Grid or Nisan Grid? I'm not sure which one it is. It says, reading Winter's Heart in the waiting room. Thank you. Summit, hey, says, first time. I guess that's going to be addressed to Nixian Grid. Nixian Grid, if you're asking me, yes. And then I was talking to y'all. Katya has, oh, sad face. Sorry, I was so late. Katya also says, I vote don't unalive yourself working too hard on this and try again another day. Call your internet people, maybe. I honestly have no clue what the heck happened. It just started working all of a sudden. Like, I was like, what did I do? I did nothing different. Elisabri or Elisab, Sabre, can you stream from your phone? I wouldn't want to. I have the cheapest phone. I always go for the cheap option. Summit, with the lockout, we are probably done for the day. Oh, okay, nope, we're back. Dane Bornhold still recommends streaming service like Streamlabs or StreamYards. Well, this is free, and I can do a ton of customization stuff with it that I can't do with StreamYard. Let's see. Okay, a couple people still just going, yep, oh, it's all fixing itself. Summit says, just got the email. Got the email. Oh, never mind. Hey, Taters, you're here. Hey, it's working. Good to see you. I don't usually get to see you folks over on in on the other side of the pond. M. McFeet. We are live. Yes, we are. Summit. We hear and see. Hooray! Summer Rail? Real? Yay. Nixian Grid. Woohoo. Katya says Fallout. Oh, hey, Katya. Thank you so much. $2. All right. That's for Fallout. You definitely want to talk about Fallout. Okay, I really enjoyed the show Fallout. Now, I've never played the game before, ever. I've been told about it a bunch of times because my siblings really love it. And also my friend Randy, he's a huge Fallout fan, like really big into it. And I love the concept because there's so much that you can do with it. And I thought that the show did a fantastic job of giving us a cohesive story. Like we were on a sort of a hero's journey with this girl, and then the guy was on a redemption story that started out low. You know, I didn't like him in the beginning. The guy who becomes he gets the robot outfit, the knight. He starts out kind of a weak character, but we see him grow in strength. And the desire to be great and noble, I think, is the hint that we're supposed to see at the beginning, that this is what his journey is going to be. And honestly, I didn't catch it because I was so annoyed. I was like, oh great, are we gonna have another character like this? And then I watched it twice in one day, the whole show twice. Well, it took me more than one day, but I didn't stop watching it until I'd seen it all the way through twice, because I watched it and then I was like, family, come watch. So we all sat down and watched it again. Because I was watching it with my mom, and then my siblings came over. So, okay, let's see. Next, Nixie and Grid. Thank you for doing an earlier stream. Yeah, I thought that I would try something on Saturday. Maybe I'll alternate between certain months being Fridays and Saturdays. I don't know about the next stream though, because I've got my family's going to be going out to do something for a birthday. Oops, sorry about my phone. And I'm not sure what the plan is. I didn't know if it was going to be on a Friday or a Saturday. So I had to make sure that whatever day I do, it's going to be not on whatever we plan to do. Katya says, Fallout. Yes, we spoke about Fallout. I'd love to keep talking about it. Summit says, Grandma can't read. She's dead. Oh, I'm sorry. Summit says, I refuse. I don't know what the heck that's... Oh, these are to the rules for rule number 2. I don't remember what rule number 2 was. And rule number 1 is, or number 3 is okay. I don't remember what rule number 3 is. Wow, how can I not remember what these rules are? Let's see. Number 3 is tell me if I mess up. Address me to tag me. Okay, those were... Can't even remember my own rules. Nixie and Grid. I think I suggest you do some Dune videos once, so I'll stick with that. Okay, so I love Dune. I did read the first 3 books, but kind of the second and third, because it was a long time ago too. This was like, I was in maybe high school, early college, when I don't even remember most of it. I remember a few things being weird, but I don't remember much of it. I think I'd love to go back and read them, but I recall reading the first one, because I've read the first one recently again, because I love the first one. It's very dry sci-fi, and yet I still feel immersed somehow, and usually that doesn't work with me. Zedekis AWR says, I love your content. A lot of your criticisms have also helped me be a better writer. Well, I'm so glad. That is awesome. That's actually kind of what I was hoping to do with this channel, is sort of explain the thoughts that might be going through the head of an editor or a critic. Why, not just say this didn't work or I didn't like this or whatever, but explain why I felt like it didn't work. And sometimes I'm discovering it as I am doing it, so especially if I'm watching a show and no notes, just watching it on my phone and then giving my thoughts. That's me kind of going, how would I think about this, but in front of a camera so y'all can think, so you all can see what I'm trying to think as I do this. Nixie and Grid says, as you said first, reading the X like Twitter is called now. Oh, okay. As you said, so Nixian is right. Got it. BSR says, sorry, I'm late. I was distracted by the new Batman show. Well, you're not really late. You're right on time because I started 20 minutes late. I had connections issues, so welcome. Sir Blaze hated Fallout the series. Oh no, why? What happened? Super Ammo says, hello, Super Ammo. Nixie and Grid, I just watched the first Fallout up and I really didn't like it. Oh no, what's going on? What was it that was throwing people off? I thought it was funny. I think that was the thing for me that I enjoyed about it the most, was that it had a lot of variety. And I figured, oh great, this is going to be another drama sort of, end of the world. It's going to be doom and gloom. But because I felt like the humor was spread throughout and it wasn't all doom and gloom all the time, I enjoyed it. And a lot of the themes in it were appropriate to what was happening in the series. And that's something that I think is a struggle today. I think that, and people pointed out in my comments a lot saying, oh, I don't like when they bring this theme in and it doesn't fit. Like, why are you talking about this except to be politically correct in today's age? But when you're telling a story where certain themes come up and they are current, but it works for the story, usually we can accept that. I was explaining this to somebody. We were talking about Princess Mononoke, because I really love Princess Mononoke, and there's a lot of themes in there that I don't think I always resonate with, but because it was so appropriate for this particular story and I was so immersed, I was like, yes, I love this. It was so well done. I think I can't remember the guy. There's another editor on YouTube, and he's a black guy with like this really sexy deep voice, and he talks about political messaging in stories and does it so well. I couldn't do it better than him. I wish I could remember what the name of his channel is, because I would just tell you guys to go watch his video. The characters were all too stupid. Well, okay. For the main girl, I kind of chalked up her bits of stupidity to being naive. She's been sheltered, obviously. And any time that she was stupid, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 times where I was like, I don't really like that all that much. But most of the time, I was like, I can see why she wouldn't know this. But the other guy, the black guy with the suit of armor, gosh, I cannot remember these characters' names. He didn't resonate with me in the beginning because I didn't like that he was dishonest and cowardly and whatever. But when I saw that they were really going to make this is his story, is that he is going to become the honorable guy, I liked that. Let's see, Pink Peonies. Hi, taters. PSR says, I don't love the new Batman show so far, by the way. Weak characterizations, bland art direction, but it might be improving. I have not heard about the new Batman. I didn't know that there was one. Who's doing it? Who is producing it? Obviously, it's a DC comic, but where is it being produced? Is this Covirus or Covirus? Finally, I somehow managed to be on your stream. Nice. Well, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. So hello there. Sir Blaze says, oh, you're talking to Nixie and Grid. Yanin. Is it Yanin or Janin? I thought you and I talked and it was Janin, but I heard somebody else pronounce it Yanin. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Canada crushing the pool events summer. Macintosh 3 golds at only 17. Nice, congratulations. I haven't actually been watching the Olympics. I usually do, but I'm so overloaded with work and everything. I get the highlights. I've seen the memes. I love the Turkish guy who won with the air pistol. I was like, oh, it's such a cool shot. And then the Korean gal who won, she looks just as cool, but in a different way. Moo Free says, Rule 3 is don't feed them after midnight. Kappa. Is that's for the, what are they called? They're Furbies? No, not Furbies, but they look just like Furbies. Gremlins, yes. Sir Blaze, prefer David Lynch's Dune. So when I watched David Lynch's movie the first time, I hated it. I couldn't stand it. And it was the theatrical version. And then I said, you know what? There's got to be something to this. I feel like there is a story here, but I missed something. So then I put on the theatrical version and it had like a longer prologue where everything was explained. I was like, oh, okay, I get this. And suddenly I really enjoyed it. And that's when I went and I read the books and I loved the books. And I was like, okay, this is good. Well, I loved the first one and the other two, I remember thinking they were weird, but still being interested. But honestly, the first one is just the one I could live in. Prototype says, hello, everybody. Moo Free says, I read up till 8 or so in high school. Okay, so I'm guessing that's for Dune. Gosh, I don't even know how many books there are. I know that there's several, though. Tater says, hey, Pink Peonies. Well, he'd say, hello, Pink Peonies. I can't do your British accent. Was that even British? I don't even know what I just sounded like. Augustine says, I know it's supposed to be for kids, but have you tried The Dragon Prince? I just binge watched the last season 6 and I was absolutely enraptured. Okay, I watched the first 2 seasons. I was actually really impressed with the first season. I wasn't expecting, well, spoiler, but it happens really early in the first season. I was not expecting the king to die, and I was like, oh, this is going to be probably a bigger, more mature epic. It stayed very childish, but I kind of went like, all right, I think this is a lot like maybe Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it's the same writer, Aaron A. Haas. And I figured, okay, maybe it's going to start out childish like the first season of Avatar, and then it'll grow with maturity. But for some reason, I stopped after season 2, maybe because there weren't other seasons and I had taken off and done something else. But I'll probably go back and check it out. Sir Blaze is talking to Taters. Moo Free says, the explanation is the best part. The explanation of the world in Dune, is that what you're talking about? Rico Suave says, thanks for your great analysis of Wheel of Time and giving voice to why I don't watch that show anymore post-season 1. Yeah, I do summarize all the scenes as best I can, or even state some of the dialogue, because I know that there's a lot of people like you that are in there and not, you're not watching the show, but you still want to kind of know what they're doing. And I'm all for people not giving it more views. I download the episodes instead of actually viewing them, so I think it only counts as one view. That's not illegal, is it? I don't think it is. I'm doing that though. Moo Free says, Zitter AK Sitter. Okay, like a sh sound. Okay, I got it. Move. Is that? Never mind. I don't think I'm part of that conversation. You must be talking to somebody else. Winter Rose says, hi, Amber, love the earlier time. I'm not about to fall asleep. Would you consider discussing Star Wars, or is this too controversial? No, I'm not against talking about Star Wars or anything. Like, I'll talk about anything. Star Wars, so the new, what do you call it? The Acolyte. I watched the first 3 episodes and I really could not continue after that third one. It did not feel like Star Wars for me. There's something about the Jedi Order that is sort of a Knights Templar a reflection of that. And I felt like something in this was missed. There was something, I kind of felt like they were presenting the dark side as being just an alternate way of looking at a good. And I was like, I don't think that's where this is supposed to go. I think that the Force is supposed to be good and any perversion of it is evil. And so I was like, I don't know if this is going to have a very satisfying end for me. And from what I hear in later seasons, it never really did tie off loose ends. It had characters, I guess, that killed themselves and did it for reasons that we're still going, why did you do that? Anyway, some trusted sources that I go to for recommendations said, yeah, you'll just be wasting your time. You'll be disappointed. And I was like, you know what? I'm not so into the Star Wars lore that I have to watch that. I love the original 3, as in 4, 5, and 6. So I'll just keep watching that, I guess. Oh my gosh, why did my thing I lost track of everybody. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to try and catch up here. Janen says, watching Canada's women's versus Germany 0-0 at 115 minutes. Oh my gosh, that must be boring. I'm guessing that's soccer. I used to keep up with soccer a little bit. I enjoyed the Fallout show in the moment, but I have no clear memory of it or desire to see it again. I'd be interested in seeing the second season, because I had such a good time the first time around. But yeah, I think even watching it twice, it wasn't so striking that I remember a lot about it, but I also easily forget story plot lines just because I consume so many of them. I mean, it would be like somebody asking me what happened on chapter 12, page 5 in The Lord of the Rings. I'd be like, you got me. Let's see. The problem with Fallout is that it becomes a brand. No matter where the wasteland is set, there's rad scorpions and super mutants and Brotherhood of Steel, the mystique of outside the vault. And that's a problem. You see that as a problem. People do this a lot in shows where they introduce a new bad guy and we're supposed to get invested in that new bad guy. I'm one of those people who wants one villain and one villain only all the way till the end, and the story is get rid of that villain. Now, I totally can understand, having a new villain, but there are kind of strict rules for how you do it so that you feel like this one was worse than the last one. And not everybody's great at doing that. So more often than not, I'm more satisfied with a single villain that is alive and causing the problems all the way to the end. So if you have, like in Fallout, a world where it's the same bad guys and everybody else, they've built up a reputation. And so I enjoy seeing like, oh my gosh, it's those guys who killed, this character. I don't want them around this character at all because they like this one, that was like when Joffrey died. I was like, oh dang. Moo Free. And then they put some other characters in there that were good too. Moo Free. They kind of got to the Fallout vibe, hit and miss, but it's good. Yeah, somebody who's never played the game though might be able to enjoy the show just on its own. Sir Blaze says, the characters were too stupid. Like he said, I'm going to use you as bait to catch the Mirelurk, but I don't know what I'll do once it works. He was so not prepared. Yeah, again, this is why he was not a knight. He was just an underling. And I'm hoping that these will be skills that he learns from and moves on. So I grew up reading the Chronicles of Predane, which is, there's Lord of the Rings it was The Hobbit, the Chronicles of Narnia, and the Chronicles of Predane were pretty big all around the same time. Some of you guys might have heard of the Black Cauldron animated cartoon that Disney did. It was a feature-length movie. I love that series, and the main character does dumb things in the beginning, but he grows and becomes wise. It's a story about attaining wisdom and humility, and I love it so much. So I'm hoping that they'll do something like that. Okay, I just lost a whole bunch of the chat, so oh my gosh. I cannot scroll back further than a certain point. That's very annoying. Okay, here we go. I've got McFeet says, I can't read it because there's a text in the way. There we go. Okay, that was the one I just read. Moo Free says they kind of got the Fallout vibe, hit and miss. Okay, Sir Blaze says, so I'm not highlighting these because I can't scroll back any further for some reason. Get out of the way. Oh my gosh, there's like a text box in my way. There we go. Sir Blaze says, the characters were too stupid. Okay, I read that one. BSR says, I wonder if Fallout's tone is a turnoff to folks unfamiliar with the games. It switches from humor to grim, then back again very quickly. But see, I'm not familiar with the game, and I enjoyed that. I felt like sometimes having light moments makes the harsh moments feel harder or more gruesome. For instance, I loved when they showed up and they had the paper of the head and all they had was the body. That was great. Let's see. Sir Blaze, but it's supposed to be hardened. And then Sir Blaze says, oh, he's talking to McFeet. And then Nixie and Grid says, I like the tone of Fallout, but the character writing in the first ep was off and some things were just very predictable in a bad way. Maybe I'll have to watch it again, but I know this sounds like a arrogant thing to say, but I usually am pretty good at predicting what's going to happen next. And for me in Fallout, that didn't take away any of the enjoyment. I predicted what the big secret was at the beginning, but I was still entertained going through the process of discovering it. I still had an emotional reaction to every moment of revelation. Rico Suave says, yeah, he's Quinn's ideas. Okay, no, it's not Quinn's ideas. Although I like him too. He uses the same musical composer of a guy I was trying to contact. I'm like, hey, can I buy some music from you? And I ended up not being able to afford him. But yeah, he's really smart. He watches stuff on the Three Body Problem. Every time push comes to shove. Every time push comes to shove, she's like, okie dokie. I kind of felt that's her vibe though. Isn't that her personality? Lucy and Maximus. Yes, that's their names. Another great analyze of fiction. Oh yeah, he's a great analyst. That's what you're talking about Quinn's ideas. Tater says, yep, strong arm there. Let's see. Moo Free says good protagonist. I'm not sure which one we're talking about. Probably Fallout. Crossfire says, I mean, it's the same actress who played the daughter in Army of the Dead. You know, the one who got a lot of people killed unnecessarily. I don't know. I did not see that other one. Rico Suave says, Analyzer. Summit said, looks like new Batman is on HBO. Okay, now I can switch to my old chat box. There we go. There we go. Sir Blaze says, with the girl, sure, a bit of leeway there, but there are some things from the games where Vault Dwellers know about rad roaches and, radioactive roaches and stuff. I do understand they were, I got nothing else in that comment there. I'm not sure what you were saying there, Sir Blaze, sorry. Crossfire, it's become her typecast, apparently. Oh, so the actress is playing the same character? I could see that as being obnoxious, but I never saw the other characters, so I was like, okay. I wasn't bothered by anything. If you want good sci-fi, please read Christopher Ruscio's Sun Eater. Oh, I have heard of Sun Eater. It's incredible and criminally underknown. I've heard of it for sure. It's definitely one that's been in throughout BookTube, and I've read it on Goodreads and stuff. I mean, the reviews and people talking about it. Janen says, you say it right. Steve is illiterate. Yeah. I'm not sure what. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I say your name right. My brain is still catching up. Hang on. Ugh. Okay. Now I can, hopefully my brain will speed up. I had it sitting here open, ready to go, and I was like, I need to make sure I take that before the stream starts, and then suddenly stuff started happening. I was like, I can't get online. I forgot all about it. The Sword and the Pen. Apparently, new Batman is on Amazon. I think WB decided to license it rather than publish it themselves. Okay. Well, then the chances of it being good are better, probably. Crossfire. Mogwai may be missing an H in there. Mogwai? What are we talking about now? I'm so lost. Okay. Moving on. Move Free says, yeah, David Lynch was Alan Smithy for a reason. What the hell language are we speaking here, guys? I don't even know who's Mogwai and what is Alan Smithy. Am I missing something? Is something going way over my head? BSR says, it's on Prime, animated. It's got a variety of producers. J.J. Abrams, Bruce Tim. Okay, gotcha, big names. No soul, though, so far. Oh, well, you know what? Producer often doesn't mean that they're actually involved in the production. It means that they contributed to the production in some way. That could be with money. That could be with just endorsement so that way they can use their name. It could be anything. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they are involved in ensuring the quality. Move Free. I like all 6 of Herbert's books. Oh no, I gotta catch up here. Jane in 45 seconds. I've lost everybody. Oh, this is okay. There's something seriously annoying about this chat box here. WB. Okay, got the David Lynch thing. It's on Prime. Got that. Okay, Janen says 45 seconds to penalty kick. You're giving us updates on the Olympics. 6 books from Frank Herbert and a whole bunch from his son. Yeah, I did hear about that. Did anybody here watch the Sci-fi series? I remember when it was on, I really wanted to watch it, and I only would catch a couple of episodes here and there. Dune 1984 wins for... crap, stupid chat box. Having Patrick Stewart playing Gurney Halleck taking a pug and... Okay, that I did not enjoy Patrick Stewart's Gurney Halleck very much. I love Patrick Stewart, and I love Gurney, but I was not into his Gurney. Trying to do an Aussie accent now after hearing her attempt to do a British one. Yeah, that was, yeah, I'm not very good. Not on the spot anyway. I need a moment to get into character. I did read a few of Brian Herbert's Dune books, but I never got into it. Okay. Dragon Prince has so much fluff, it's not worth continuing. That was kind of my problem, is that I felt like the story was slow. But sometimes I'm willing to give it a shot if somebody can assure me that it's really worth it when you get to the end. I would tell most people, get through season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it doesn't really get mature and good until season 2. Getting back to Fallout briefly, as a fan of the game, it's a near perfect adaptation. Some minor timeline contradictions, but it perfectly nailed the tone and the values. That was from BSR. All right, well, it's good to know that they're actually doing the game some justice, but it does sound like we have quite a few people in here who did not enjoy it. Honestly, I would love, it sounds like the stupid characters are the thing that people felt the most, don't like that. But to me, that was a little bit of the charm, was that there was so much naivete in our protagonists. Hate watched wheel crap. Wheel of stupid chat box doing things. Okay. Hate watched Wheel of Crime, Sir Blaze. I'm watching it like it's punishment for something. And we hit penalty kicks, Janan says. Sir Blaze, BSR, okay, that's for BSR. Arlene M, you might consider doing a reaction watch of Firefly or maybe Outlander. Outlander, I don't think I could get away with. It's a bit, I watched it because I did want some sci-fi stuff, and then I finished it. Well, I didn't finish it. I watched it because I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Like, this very good looking guy. And then he wasn't so good looking in season 4. And besides, I was like, now it's becoming a cheesy romance. I wanted more of the we know the future. And so we're going to use that. And they didn't do that as often as I wanted to. It was more like high budget soap opera drama, if that makes sense. Or romance novel drama. And I just wanted more of the cool sci-fi and fantasy stuff. The time travel thing, her having knowledge of medicine from the future, that stuff really interested me. But they didn't play into it as strongly as I wanted. It was more about him and her and, we're together and we're not and we're banging again. And but he was good looking. That was a very good looking guy. Let's see. Janan says, now I can't see the stupid thing. Go away, box. Go away. No. Thank you. Okay. We are going to cheer for Germany, says Dane. All right. Moo Free says, haha. I don't know what that was to. Augustine says, Dragon Prince does grow up. There's a childish parts, and you can also see where Netflix's constraints squeeze the story, sadly. It gets so good, though. I do wish that these studios would not hinder the creative teams as much. I know, so some of you know that I got to go, I'm in contact with one of the Netflix executives, and we've had a few really great conversations. And from what it sounds like, it's the higher up people, like the folks who are in offices and doing PR related stuff, but that have nothing to do with the project creation itself, other than they do have control over it. And every once in a while, they'll step in and be like, you're going to do this. And everybody who's involved in it is going, but wait, I do this for a living. I'm a creator. I'm a writer. And you can't do that. It's just going to feel weird. And they have no choice but to go along with it unless they can convince these higher ups that this is what we should do. It is a group project. There is no single mind that is fully in charge of everything, from what it sounds like. And that can be a big problem in storytelling, because then when you have multiple intentions for a story, that's when it comes across as being less focused, less distilled. Let's see. Moo Free says, you're behind, but you got it. Okay, Sir Blaze. The Crapolite was super bad. Oh yeah, I didn't enjoy it. Lord Wahoo says, Dragon Prince felt like two writers playing tug of war with the script. Wow, that's so weird. I just said practically that. Every episode undid a bunch of characters established in the previous one, and they both had a different story they wanted to tell. Holy crap, did you just read my mind? Like, I don't know how long ago you wrote that, like 10 minutes ago, probably. Moo Free says, or I'm behind. Lord Wahoo says, Soul did nothing wrong. I don't know what that means, but Zedekiss AWR is talking to Sir Blaze. Janan says, the Force is Palin and simple, good versus evil. Plain and simple, good versus evil. I was like, Palin? Is this a vocabulary word? I should know, but I don't. Shy, talking to Lord Wahoo. Augustine says, and there is fluff, but that's what keeps it from being too grim. Otherwise, you would end up with like live action Avatar, which loses all sense of fun from the original. I didn't think they lost all sense of fun, but they had to eliminate a lot of that. And I'm really hoping they'll cut out more plot in season 2 or get more episodes. Like, I hope it's one of those two, because a lot happens, but it is used for character building. And unfortunately, you can't have so much plot that we don't get character moments. And from what I hear, they've really taken to heart the criticism of season 1. And that was kind of the hope, is that, all right, we'll put out season 1 and see what people say, and then we'll do what they say there. And they do have a reputation for doing what the fans want. With some of the other shows that I was told about that did specifically this thing, and people were more satisfied with where the direction that they went. Let's see. Janan says, no, Dane, I'm rooting for Canada still. Sir Blade. Okay, we've got a lot of Olympics talk going on here. The Force isn't good or evil. It's down to how the users, the Jedi, are good and Sith are evil, though. Yes, I agree with that assessment, Sir Blaze. There's a lot of... The Force, I believe, was inspired by Taoism, and you look into that, and it's not about good and evil. It's about opposing forces. So, yeah. Janan says, apparently the teams are cheaters according to the news as of today. Oh, okay. Moo Free says, I watched it twice because I didn't remember most of the first time. I don't know which show we're talking about now. BSR. The Acolyte has an edgy ending in mind and just railroaded its characters to that ending, whether it made sense for them or not. The ending being that final sort of battle. Is that what you're talking about? I guess I just need to I need to understand how you felt that their characters didn't fall in line with what happened at the end. Because we have the Maximus, he ends up becoming kind of revered as a hero, even though he's not, which is sort of like the position that he was in at the beginning, and he wanted to be there and then realized he didn't want to be there. But now he's there and he doesn't want to be there. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with that. Let's see. Perry Wolf, I was thinking about Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 and how you could watch it with an 8-year-old and you both enjoyed it. Can't do that with the new Star Wars. Yeah, that's because they wrote something that was appropriate for children. They kept it clean enough for children, but it was definitely something that they said, we want adults to enjoy this. Like, it was for adults, but they made it safe for children. And that's where people got the idea that it's a kid's story. Go away. Chat box, go away. Okay. Zedekiss, Sir Blaze is saying something to Zedekiss. Shai is saying something to Augustine. Arlene is saying something to me. Might you consider reacting to Firefly? Or how about your opinions of Outlander? Yeah, I would definitely consider watching it. Firefly is so good, so well written. It's character-driven story, and yet the things that happen in the plot are so important to these character moments. There was so much done so well with Firefly. It's really such a shame that no more episodes weren't made so that we could have more of this to enjoy and learn more from it. I'll definitely talk about Firefly more. Okay, BSR says, I'm going to evangelize Farscape yet again for escalating villains from season to season. Amber, watch Farscape. Okay, I've got a friend who really loves Farscape, and I know I'm supposed to watch it. What? I lost everything. What the heck? Oh my gosh, this is so annoying. I've got so many messages that have just skipped through, and I have no idea where we are now. Okay, Dragon Prince felt like 2 players. Force isn't good. Got that. Suppose matter of preference. Oh, no, go up. Okay, here we go. Zedekiss AWR. That's not for me. No, not for me. Moofree says, I've only played 3 NV and 4, so I'm not hardcore 1 and 2 player truck. I don't know what that means. Problem with Fallout is that things like the Super Mutants and Brotherhood and Enclave and the like were extremely localized threats that grew to take over the world after being destroyed. They grew to take over the world after being destroyed, like after the world was destroyed, or I guess I'm a little bit confused about what you're saying here, because isn't that exactly how small groups take power often? I think about like the governing party in China right now was a third group involved in a war. There was essentially 2 political groups that were fighting, and they got so weak that then the third group came in and took over and said, all right, we'll run the government now. Like that happens. And, when there's a power vacuum, that's why people talk about there's a hole in the power structure right now. Somebody's going to jump in and try to take it. Let's see. Oh my gosh, this thing keeps skipping. It's very annoying. I'm just going to read the ones that are addressed to me now and highlighted. Okay, got that. Dragon Prince does grow up. Augustine says, and there is fluff, but that's what keeps it from being too grim. Okay, I've already read this. Already read this. I was about thinking star, already read that. All right, already read that. Skipping down to the next thing that mentions me. Have you checked Adrian von Ziegler for music? He's on YouTube, and he's fine with people using his music. He has some disclaimers on his page or video. I'll have to look him up. Adrian von Ziegler, if I don't remember, send me a message. My email is in the bottom of my videos. Just send me an email with that name if I forget to look for him, because I'm always looking for music that I'm like allowed to use. Next one that mentions me is from Koba. To be fair, at some point, one gets enough experience and has seen a vast number of plot variations that predicting becomes easy. Yeah, that's me, I think. It's annoying, but I don't stop enjoying a story just because I know what's going to happen next. I find that I can enjoy a story if it's still executed well. David Robertson, hello from Scottish Dave. Hey, it's you. I know I've got a couple people from Scotland in here now. Trevor Lorne says, Alan Smithy is a name producers or directors use when they don't want to be associated with a product. I did not know that. That's hilarious. Okay. Let's see. Sir Blaze says, loses everything, take a swig. Oh, yeah. Oh man, am I that far behind? Okay, I've really got to catch up. I'm just going to zing through as many of these as I can. BSR says, I enjoyed the sci-fi miniseries, low budget, but the action was more human. Yeah, I do like miniseries a lot. That's something that I think Brandon Sanderson has mentioned, and he's so right. People are writing shows like they want them to go on forever so that they can, we'll make a ton of money on this if we just have the story go on forever. But that means that they're not ever leading to a specific ending. And that's bad storytelling because you lose focus on your theme. I think Stranger Things season 1 was so good because it had a specific ending, but it also had an opening saying we could do more, but we'll have to come up with something different to do. And so I thought that was a great way to conceptualize a mini series because season 1 of Stranger Things is a mini series. BSR says I meant the acting was more human. Oh, the acting was more human. Do you mean in Dune? Are we talking about Dune or Star Wars now? I think we're talking about Dune. Summer Real says hopes, fears for Warner Brothers, the War of Rohirrim. More fear than anything else. The thing is when I read the tagline or the summary of what it's supposed to be, and it sounds like every other story that's come out, I get this big, I feel like they're going to try and copy stuff that's already popular right now. But I don't think that the things that are popular are things that people really want in this genre. But the hope is this. Animation is so much harder to produce than live action. You have to do a lot in the writing room before you actually put a pencil to paper for animation or, a mouse click for animation. So there is more attention paid to preparing a complete script in advance. So my hope is that will prevent us from getting a totally horrible story. Let's see. X525 Crossfire says Outlander gets more into the we know the future and can change the past in season 5, especially with the American Revolution on the horizon. That is the whole reason I wanted to watch Outlander beyond season 3, but I stopped at season 3 because I was like, it's taking them forever to get there because I know that the story goes there, and I was sick of it at that point. Was it season 3? It was when they left Scotland and they were on the boat. Oh my gosh, there was like a rescue scene where she's drowning and like he jumps into the water to save her and they start making out underwater. I'm like, she was dying. And now you're underwater and you're gonna start making out. Oh my gosh, my eyes rolled so far back into my head that I passed out. Let's see, keep going down. BSR says, Fallout's characters, one was raised into a cult and the other raised in a vault. I'm not sure you could call them stupid. They're ignorant, but they learn quickly. Yeah, that was my take as well. Okay. For some reason, Nixie and Grid, my name is not highlighted. Oh, you highlighted At the Sword and the Pen, not At the Sword and the Pen Reflections. The highlighted message is not changing on screen. You have to put reflections in there. Scrolling down, Elesarbre. Elisarb. I wish you could tell me how to pronounce that. Have you watched The Expanse? It's kind of a mix between Firefly and Game of Thrones. It's also one of the most realistic sci-fi shows when it comes to the science. I know what the Expanse is, and I've watched the first couple of episodes, I think at least twice, but for some reason, around the same point, I get pulled away from it doing other projects and things, and I never continue it. At this point, I have to start it over again, but I can see it's good. It's also a bit of a slow start, but I know it's really, really well done. Like, I loved Battlestar Galactica, the more recent, I don't know, when was it, like 20 years ago when it came out? I loved that. It was like a military sci-fi in space, but then you had like these biblical undertones. I really enjoyed that. Let's see. So I do want to watch The Expanse. That'll probably be my next sci-fi, honestly. King of Mad Cows says, Acolyte should have just been about Kimir's journey as a fallen Jedi, learning from different Force religions and cults before being recruited by the Sith. There's so much that they could have done. I don't know why they did what they did in the way that they did it. It's not what they did, really. It's not... The story is cool, that you have two children who are very talented in the Force, and they're like being groomed for learning the Force in this certain way, and then it ends up making them vulnerable to something else, and then, you know, the two are split up. Like, I kind of like that, but the execution missed the mark somehow. Let's see. King of Mad Cow says, oh, wait, that's the one I just read. Scrolling down. Oh, good. I think I might be caught up. I might have caught up. Let's see. And let's see. BSR said, my railroading comment was for the Acolyte, not Fallout. I have very few notes for Fallout. Oh, okay. The Sword and the Pen Reflections. I can endorse the watching of Farscape. I know it's good, but I also know that it's one of those ones where you have to watch it a lot before you really get invested in it. You have to watch a lot of it. The same thing with, there was another show, I can't remember the name of it, but it's similar to that. A lot of older shows were like that because they're episodic. Like, think of something like CSI or Criminal Minds. You get invested in the characters when you've watched them over a few seasons, and you see, or not a few seasons, several episodes, and you really get familiar with the kind of person that they are, because you get very little, because the story's not about them. At least that's what my understanding is, that Farscape is quite like that. Yes, watch Farscape, says David Robertson. The BOS was purged between 2 and 3. What's BOS? I don't know what that means. Okay, let's see. Augustine, not for me. Pink Peony. Hey, $10. Thank you, Pink Peonies. Wow, I am really slow catching up. Thank you so much. Every little bit helps. Shy says, nothing to me. Moo, man, you know your lore. Probably not talking to me. When it comes to lore, I could probably get you Star Trek: The Next Generation lore, but nothing else. Like, that's it. And maybe Harry Potter and a little bit of Lord of the Rings, but honestly, no, not Lord of the Rings. Hopefully, I will have more knowledge of it come finishing the Silmarillion, which I'm on chapter. We just got the explanation of the two trees, so I'm not very far in. I'm like on chapter 4 or something, 3 or 4. Ow, my neck just popped. It was horrible. That was a horrible feeling. Sir Blaze says, the super mutants were destroyed in the second game, I believe. The Brotherhood were taken out in one of the games, too, but they were fan favorites, so brought back. Oh no. Yeah, don't get rid of, you know what you have to do is do what like Stranger Things did. the chances of wiping out an entire group or an entire idea, think of V for Vendetta, you know, ideas are bulletproof. An idea can live on. And how you give that idea new life or a new twist, like consider having a villain who picks up the texts of a previous villain and studies it, but then they have a different interpretation of it. And it's somehow more twisted or scary, which is what happens in history. Is people take an idea and they say, oh, a lot of people got behind this idea, but I could use this idea to promote what I really want. Skipping down. Harry Wolf, hello. One of my patrons. My Star Wars comment was about how they still keep putting in cutesy things like Little Robot and Acolyte, but there's nothing in the story a kid can really understand. Yes, that is really weird. Honestly, kids are more likely to be able to watch a show for adults with simple distilled characters and themes like Star Wars Episode 4, 5, and 6. They can get behind it. You don't need that cute stuff. Make things look cool and interesting. How many people wanted the exact same model of, what was it? It wasn't a TIE fighter. It's an X. It's not. Is it even an X-Wing? It's not an X-Wing. It's the 3-1. The 3-1. You know what I mean? Like that Luke is playing with when he's cleaning the robots in Episode 4, and he's just like flying it around. I'll bet you every boy who watched that movie like, I must have one of those. You know, and it's not presented as this cool toy that like everybody wants. It's literally just a prop. And everybody saw it and like, I want that. I don't think that people understand. You don't have to feature it. It's not a commercial. You are not making a commercial here, people. Wow, I just went on a rant there. I do have very strong feelings about the original Star Wars, which I love. King of Mad Cows. What a great name. Acolyte should have just been about Khmer's journey as a fallen Jedi, learning the different Force religions. Did I read this already? I did. Did I backtrack? Nixie and Grid, have you watched Three Body Problem? I didn't get the hype for it. I did watch the Three Body Problem and I loved it. So maybe we're of different opinions. So it's very slow because obviously we've got a bad guy who's coming, but not for like a couple hundred years. But we know there's no way we can beat them at our current level of technology. So we have to start the journey of building our technology so that we can defend ourselves when this happens. But the things that they do in order to try and make this happen are so far out there in science, but also when you think about it, you're like, okay, I could see how this may be possible someday, that it's haunting. Like the thing that happens to the guy who's dying, the guy who has cancer, the thing that eventually happens to him is such a horror. The idea of existing for so long, being conscious for so long, I'm a religious person, but to see that and go, wow, to exist like that forever, and what could happen when contact is made is just horrifying. And I love the horror of it. I loved the way that obviously I caught things that were messed up, you know, like everybody sees like, oh no, that's not possible because they did this or whatever. But the boat on the river thing, I loved that it was slow and silent. I really love that kind. It's like horror. It's psychological cosmic horror is what it is. That's what that is. I think that's how it's described, Three Body Problem. I really want to read the books. I really, really want to read them. Arlene says, will you be watching season 3 of Wheel of Time? Yeah, I'm not giving up on Wheel of Time. I mean, I'm giving up on it being good, but I think there's a lot to learn from it, and a lot of opportunity for me to have different things to talk about, you know, like they could have done this better. I hope for all the people involved in the production at the ground level are able to go on in their careers. I don't think that there are any bad actors. I don't think that the costume designers are doing a bad job. I think the special effects, for the most part, in season 2, I enjoyed. I feel like there's a lot of effort put into this, and it's in the writing and the final product that we're seeing so much terrible. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, you want to know how I feel about Wheel of Time? Watch my videos. Nixie and Grid. I meant that the chat message you highlight when reading on screen has stayed the same for a while. That was because I have two options for where I control which one is highlighted, and the one that lets me control it, for some reason, I can only see a certain number of them. And then like the older the messages, I can't see them. So I had to go to my other chat window and scroll through until I got caught up to where I could start using the other chat window. So there you go. Wonder how far behind I am now. Looks like I'm pretty far behind. Okay. I'm going to skip everybody until it says me. Have you watched Three Body Problem? I didn't get the hype. Oh my gosh. Why am I reading these again? What happened? Something has happened. Still going. This one doesn't have me highlighted, but the Expanse showrunners got his start in the show business as a science advisor for Star Trek The Next Generation, writer for DS9. Really? Now I was going to watch it anyway because I do really want to see it. I love the lady who has the really deep, gravelly voice. She's like Indian or something. Oh, I love her voice so much. There are certain people who I just want to look at them on screen or I want to hear them on screen. I don't care what role they're playing. They're like ASMR for me or something. She's one of them. That voice is, it's biblical, her voice is. The Sword and the Pen Reflections, BOS, Brotherhood of Steel. Oh, okay. That's from, what should we call it? Fallout, right? Okay. Crossfire. Can you tell that the Expanse books were co-written by one of GRRM's former assistants? So I've only read the first book, and I'm not surprised. There's a very good understanding. So you know what I noticed today? Because I was pulling clips from Game of Thrones for my upcoming video where I do the Theon Greyjoy Moraine thing. And so I was going through it, watching all of Theon Greyjoy's scenes. Do you know how slow the characters' plots are in Game of Thrones? It's so slow. Like, we'll have a whole episode with only one scene of Theon, and it'll be like him waking up in the dungeon, and the torture begins. And that's all we get of him. And then you get to the end of the season, you're like, I watched a whole season of just him being tortured. But it was because we just got small snippets of it. But you felt like, dang, I went through a whole lot with him. Something is not understood, I think, in today's storytelling, thinking that that action is plotting. But you can have a character development that has enough moments, small moments that are very intense, that you feel like a lot is going on. And I feel like with Theon, that's what was going on. I definitely feel like there was some stuff in there that was simply there for shock value. Like, well, I don't have to say it, but there was a lot of stuff that happened to Theon in that story. And if something is just there to make your audience go, ugh, or ah, or it's essentially the same thing as pornography. It's just there to get a visceral reaction from you. And even if it's not sexual at all, that's why it's there. And I don't enjoy that. But there was enough going on in the psychological journey that I felt like a lot happened. Trevor Lorne says, when you talk about another show that you have to watch a lot before you really get into it, were you talking about Babylon 5? Yes, I think so. Because my friend, well, Taters, he's in the was it Taters or was it Liz? No, it was Liz. Okay, so I'm on the Geeky Old Hogs podcast, and they did a video on, we did a video where each of us got to present a show from like the 80s and 90s that we really love and wanted to talk. I talked about The Next Generation because I've seen it so many times, Star Trek. And I think it was Taters who talked about Babylon 5. Or he may have talked about, no, it was Liz. I don't know, one of them talked about Babylon 5. And I know it's good because I trust those guys. They have good taste in sci-fi storytelling. And the beginning of Babylon 5 is very cringe, and I know you just have to get past it, and you have to get involved in these characters and really care about them and see the journey that they go on before you really get attached to them. And I just haven't been able to do that. BSR says, I predict you will struggle with the characters until about 9, I think. They have turning point and start being more of a family. It helps if you like Muppets. We're talking about Babylon 5? I didn't know what we're talking about there. Okay, I'm going to try and catch up again. Crossfire says, fun fact, the Expanse books are co-written by former assistant. How am I getting repeats here? This is bizarre. I'm getting like repeated comments. Okay. Oh, Crossfire says, damn, she got the version of my Expanse comment I originally retracted. Oops, I hope I got to the good one. Augustine said, oh, am I caught up? Augustine says, The Sword and the Pen Reflections. Agreed that there is a lot to learn from the Wheel of Time show mistakes. Sometimes I watch bad shows and get inspired to write them better. That is actually a way that I write. Like when I'm writing, okay, I play this game, and I think I've said it before in some of my videos, but I play a game all the time when I'm watching shows and movies. And books, actually. I play it all the time, anytime I'm consuming a story. I could be 10 minutes into it, 5 minutes into it, whatever, and the first thing I'm thinking is, ooh, what would I do with this? And I plot out my own story with it. So when I was in Japan, I was an exchange student in Japan when I was in high school, and what was it called? Spirited Away came out while I was there, and it was a big deal. Everybody loved it. You know, when a Miyazaki movie comes out, people go nuts, and I was like, I want to go see it while I'm here. What a cool thing to do. And I went to go see it in Japanese because there was no English subtitles there or anything. And I didn't really know exactly what was going on because I could only understand like part of what they were saying. But I understood enough that by the time I got to a part where I understood that the girl was confused if there were two Hakus, like she got helped by this guy to get into the bathhouse, and then she gets in there and he's there, but he is like with a different demeanor, and she's wondering, are there two Hakus? Are there two of them? And I was like, what if there were? And I came up with this huge story in my head, and I went home. My host mom and I went home, and I like pulled out my notebook for hours, and I was like writing like, okay, what if there was like a culture of people who were enslaved, and like one of this, you know, twins are, one of them's adopted by like a queen, and she's going to raise him, and he becomes this tyrant, but then he discovers that he has a brother and he's a slave, and the two of them meet secretly, and they decide we're going to work together to free the slaves, and like they plot this like revolution, and I loved the story idea so much. But like that whole story came from watching a cartoon about a little girl who has like an Alice in Wonderland type of adventure, and she's helped by somebody, and then when that person is in front of other people, they act completely differently. And I was like, you know, she wondered, are there two of them? And I was like, oh, that would be a great story if there was. So that's, you know, it happens like that. Sir Blaze said, if it's Muppets, it's probably Farscape. Okay. Muppets equals Farscape. If you love The Next Generation, I recommend Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. I did try Stargate SG-1 because I actually, as cheesy as it is, I occasionally enjoy the Stargate movie because it's got Kurt Russell in it and because of the music. And that's about it. Kurt Russell is my imaginary father, by the way. My dad looks just like him and acts like him. Let's see, skipping down. Okay, I think we're caught up. I think I'm caught up with the comments. Okay, so McFeet says, I'm watching Babylon 5 for the first time too. I'm in love with Commander Ivanova. Sir Blaze says, glad it's not just me. Sir Blaze, what? What are people talking about? I don't know what folks are talking about. Hopefully it's something good. Okay, I can maybe go back a little bit and read some people's comments. I love Babylon 5. I'm watching it for the first time now. Some episodes are wonky and the acting can range from great to terrible, but I'm still loving it. I've noticed like older shows, the acting tends to start rough but get better. And that's, you know, current shows as well. This is why I'm not worried about the kids in Avatar, because I thought that they did a pretty good job. And for me, I equate their performances to like movie 2 or 3 in Harry Potter. And think about how great the kids were by the end of the Harry Potter movies. Like they were doing some really complicated scenes and doing a great job with it. A lot of range, you know, humor, drama. And I was really enjoying their performances. So I'm like, I know these kids are going to do well. The fact that they did this well, and I did hear from my friend who's involved in the production that the main kid, Aang, started out a lot rougher, and they filmed everything in sequential order. By the time they got to the end, he was so much improved that they went back and refilmed a bunch of stuff from the earlier episodes because they're like, dang, he's gotten so much better with these deeper, bigger emotions. We're going to have him do that again. So I believe in the kids. Now we just got to get that writing up to speed. You know, get it right there. The pacing. We got to get that pacing right. Crossfire, not talking to me. Sir Blaze says, I got into SG-1 due to the movie with Kurt Russell. I'm a huge Kurt Russell Goldie Hawn fan. So if anybody has seen that movie Overboard, I could probably quote the whole thing to you from memory. My family loves that movie. I don't think if anybody put it on, the whole family would probably stop and just sit back and enjoy it. Like, we just love it so much. So Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, my imaginary parents. Let's see. Winter Rose says, Farscape was made by Jim Henderson Company. Really? I did not know that. Is that for real? Okay. I think you meant Jim Henson, not Jim Henderson, right? Okay. What do you guys think of this? Because my sister has proposed this idea and I love it. Why don't the Muppets reenact more of the classics? Like, could you imagine the Muppets Pride and Prejudice? Would that not be hilarious if, like, the only normal people are Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, and everybody else are Muppets? Like, it would be so funny. I would love to see that. Oh my gosh. I think it would be hilarious. They've only done, as far as I know, A Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island, and they're classics. They are so hilarious. I really wish that they would keep making them. These original movies that they do, where it's about like, oh no, the Muppets need to save Hollywood. I don't think those are as popular as they think. I think that Hollywood loves the Muppets, and so they want the Muppets to be in Hollywood quite often, and I don't think that that works for them. I think that they resonate more with an outside audience when they're telling a familiar story, but doing it well. Honestly, the Muppet Christmas Carol is one of my favorite versions of the Christmas Carol. And I think I've seen almost every version of the Christmas Carol. I really love it. I read the book every Christmas. Well, I listen to it now, the Tim Curry audiobook. I listen to the Tim Curry telling of A Christmas Carol every year. And I just love it so much. Okay, let's see. I just went and talked way too much. Summit. Talk to any actor. It takes time to get into the mind of a character. Yes. Unless you're Steve Carell and you're doing Michael Scott. My brother has watched The Office so many times, and my family likes The Office. I like it. I'll watch it when it's on, but it's not one I usually just like put on. But my brother observed, and he was so right, the only actor in that entire cast who was perfectly on their character from episode 1 all the way to the end is Steve Carell. Like, he knew what his character was from the beginning and nailed it. Everybody else kind of eventually grew into their characters, which might also be a writer's thing. But Steve Carell was the one who was, pulling it off. So I associate it with him. King of Mad Cows says, you can kind of imagine Babylon 5 as a Trek show about the founding of the Federation. Really? I like that idea. So you know what I really like is I want to see a Star Trek show about Starfleet Academy. And it can be about all kinds of politics and shenanigans that happens around the academy. It can be about like a natural disaster that happens somewhere, in the world or some nearby place. And the academy is like, they really need help. And so the academy is going to go there. Like, we're moving campus. Like, you can do so much with the academy setting. You can have drama with the professors. You can have old characters be the professors. Like, I really wanted Picard to be about Jean-Luc is a professor at the Starfleet Academy, but then he also has his vineyard and he's occasionally called out to advise on things. But I wanted him to be the sage character. I didn't want him to be what he was in Picard, unfortunately. And I didn't like what they did with Q. I think Q having an existential crisis is interesting, but it does take away some of his mystique. The Next Generation is the only Star Trek series that did Q right. And there were 2 episodes that were really goofy, a third one that was kind of goofy, but not so much. But the other 2 were goofy and just there for fun. But everything else, Q was this very mysterious character, and he definitely represented like the possibility of God being real, because there was always that in your head, is Q God? And of course, anytime that they, made him more human, like turning him into human and doing all the cute, fun things, it's like, obviously he's not. But there were moments where you felt like Picard was almost wondering, what is Q's role in humanity? And I loved that because it left that, it showed the mystery of it. And anything that's left up to the imagination or where you're only told the tip of the iceberg, but you're never going to get the answers of everything else, that to me is so effective in storytelling, because how much of life is actually like that? There are so many mysteries in the world that we'll never really know what it is. But just the thought of what it could be is so fascinating. People will die through an obsession of trying to figure out something that you literally cannot ever understand. I just love the idea. Okay. Not the idea of dying from obsession. Let's see. BSR says, did you watch any new Trek? I hated Discovery and most of Picard. I love Strange New Worlds, but I'm worried it's leaning too silly. The Thor, Love and Thunder problem. So I have not, mostly because I keep hearing, first of all, two things. Number one, everything is too dark. I'm really not into the dark. And also it's a continuing story form from what I understand. Like Picard was one great big long story. And I was like, you should have done what they did in The Next Generation, where it was episodic, but you have a character that's constantly growing. And I think that that's what we wanted, and that's not what we saw. It was also very dark, and I don't really resonate with a dark Star Trek, because I feel like that kind of takes away the purpose of what Star Trek was. Honestly, DS9, it was hard for me to get into DS9 for that reason, even just the aesthetic being dark. But when you get too dark and don't have enough light and fun, and the idea of the Federation is something to aspire to. So when you talk about the Federation being corrupt, there should always be this higher idea of what the Federation represents and what it means that is immortal, that is the bulletproof idea that is bulletproof, right? That you can have people who are corrupt and use the system for their own means, but there is a truth underneath it that is the soul everyone who's drawn to the Federation aspires to uphold. And that is hopeful. That is light, not as in carefree light, but the idea of a bright humanity. You know, all the times in The Next Generation when they said poverty has been eliminated on Earth, and like, yeah, poverty hasn't been eliminated, or poverty may have been eliminated, but are human problems eliminated? Have wars been eliminated? And, you know, there are things to aspire to that are greater than what we're actually capable of, but we should always still strive for them. And that is kind of a big theme in Star Trek that we had in the original series and in The Next Generation. And then this idea of, well, what if the Federation goes bad? Or what if it breaks up? You know, what if it's not as great as we think and it is actually this dark political world? That takes away that spirit of hope that really attracted me to Star Trek in the first place. I'm very passionate about Star Trek, in case you didn't know. Let's see. Crossfire says, SG-1 Season 1 can be hard to get through because it was written by a lot of former TNG writers recycling their old scripts. Did you at least get to Cold Lazarus? No, I did not. I did not get very far in SG-1. Honestly, just a couple episodes. Like I said, I know it's one I have to watch several episodes with. I don't mind if they're recycling old Star Trek episodes. So, you know what? I was just talking about the Orville with... Well, I left a comment on Disparu's channel because he was critiquing a Star Trek video. He's been on my channel a couple times and made comments. I was like, I'll better go on his and do the same. And his videos are funny if you want to watch somebody tear apart a show. He's a bit more political and brutal than I am, but I still get a laugh from some of his comments. I was talking about the Orville. There are a couple of episodes in the Orville that are very similar to episodes in The Next Generation. And I think that's why the Orville to me felt like the comedy version of The Next Generation. But it also did things that I hadn't seen The Next Generation do. So it did stuff that was familiar. I'm like, oh, we had an episode like this. Like, how many times have people thought you could use the holodeck for some kinky stuff, you know? And they went there and they didn't address it as like, isn't it this hilarious thing? Like, it was kind of funny. But then they talked about what do we have like this in today's world, okay? And obviously we have pornography, right? So like, what if the holodeck could become like pornography for somebody, where they become addicted to it, and it is a sexual thing. And one of the characters went through that, and it was affecting his marriage and his family, and it was a shameful thing. And I was really enjoying that they were exploring this thing. They did it with, it was presented as this bizarre, and also I was cracking up. But at the same time, I was like, they're going there. They're going to that place where they're going to explore something that resonates with people today at a deeper level. And I really enjoy that sort of thing. I like to come away from a story feeling like it had some value, whether it's emotional or psychological. And for me, that was I benefited psychologically, because I was like, I'm looking at an issue from a totally different perspective, and that helps you to gain a new understanding of it. It doesn't necessarily mean it changes the way you think about something, but or what you think about something, but it does change how you think about it. You go, oh, okay, I can see how, you would mind look at this issue from the other side or whatever. I love that sort of thing. Gosh, if you've never seen it before, the Next Generation episode called, dang it, I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one where a scientist basically decides he wants to try to replicate Data, the android character, and the only way they can do that is by disassembling him and, basically taking him apart and whatnot. And Data doesn't want to do that, and so they go to court where the scientists are basically saying, Data's not a human being, he's not alive, he's not a real person, he's an object, so he doesn't have free will. And the whole debate is about free will. And in the end, you're like, why are we debating whether robots have free will? Like, robots and androids can't have free will. But then they go, you know what? It's not even about that. The real issue, they take it a step further. They go, the real issue is when something that is so lifelike that we can't prove that it's alive or not. Maybe we say we know it doesn't have life, it doesn't have a mind of its own, it's just programmed to look like it does. The fact that we'll take something so similar to a human and we'll replicate this and make 1 million of them and they'll be our slaves. What does that say about us? Like, what damage does that do to us as humans when we can take something so human-like and treat it like it's not human? And that is a discussion that's really interesting to me. Like the fact that they didn't just go, well, humans or robots aren't humans. They don't have souls. They don't have minds, whatever. They just make you think that they do. And they're like, that doesn't matter. What really matters is what would it do to us to make this? So I liked that. Oh gosh, I'm so passionate about Star Trek, guys. Sir Blaze, seen Overboard. It was a Kurt Russell fan. I was a Kurt Russell fan. All I got to say is Snake Plissken? Snake Plissken. Am I missing what Snake Plissken is? I gotta now look up. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is Escape from New York and Escape from LA. I've seen Escape from New York, but it was a very long time ago, and I did not see Escape from LA, unfortunately. I don't know why, but like the Mad Max movies and stuff, what's the other one? Waterworld, like I can watch that once and then I'm like, don't need to see it again. And honestly, the last time I saw them were like I was in high school, so. Augustine says, I would love Muppet reenactments of the classics. That is genius. Doesn't everybody think that's a great idea? I don't know why they haven't done more of it. Their two most successful Muppet movies are Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. What? Hello? You want to make a Muppet movie? Do one that people want to see. Let's see. Sir Blaze is laughing at Summit, or at something Summit said. Sounds fun, I think, says Zedicus. Summit. I would love to see more Muppet movies. They are probably stupid expensive to make these days. Well, I don't know. They're making Fraggle Rock, or they have. Had anybody hear about that? They've remade Fraggle Rock. It's the same thing, basically, right? Just not as elaborate puppets. I used to watch Fraggle Rock. Throw your cares away. Okay, let's see. Muppet Heart of Darkness? That would be maybe like the jungle. No, don't do one with the animals. Okay, Heart of Darkness, though. Okay, so when you're getting into those stories, it's been a long time since I've read Heart of Darkness. I'm trying to separate it from all the other stuff in my head. I think you got to pick something that's a bit more child friendly, and something that you can. I think that's a little too dark for kids, is basically what I'm saying. At Heart of Darkness, I think that some of the themes are a little bit over the heads of kids. It's a very political story if you think about it, or social commentary sort of story, from what I remember of it, if I'm remembering the right story. I had to read a lot of Kipling and stuff. I forget what class it was, but I read all of the British colonial stories, Passage to India. There was a whole bunch. Okay. I know it's not all Kipling, but he wrote a lot of it. So a lot of the stuff we're supposed to read in college. Tater says, Kermit the Last Airbender. No, that's not a classic, but that would be hilarious. Kermit the Last Airbender. Yeah, okay, has anybody seen the it's not the Muppets, it's who is the red fluffy Elmo? Elmo as Paul Atreides doing the put your hand in the box video. If you guys haven't seen it, oh, it's so funny. I mean, they took Denis Villeneuve's movie and that scene and superimposed Elmo in Paul's place and just do the whole scene exactly like how it is. I thought it was hilarious. I guess most people don't think it's funny. I loved it. Elis Sarbre. I gotta know how to say your name, man. Pride and Prejudice is perfect for the Muppets. Most of the side characters are basically cartoons anyway. Oh my gosh. So if you've ever seen the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice, which honestly is still the best version by far, the actress who plays Jane, my family says, looks like a My Little Pony, like a 90s version of My Little Pony. And I can't unsee it. Every time I see that girl on screen, because we watch Pride and Prejudice probably a couple times a year in this family, it's just like it becomes put it on TV, it's in the background, you know, if we're all sitting around doing something, cooking or whatever, like that'll be on. She's a My Little Pony from the 1990s. Not the new Friendship is Magic ones, which I think is actually kind of a cute cartoon. I've seen like a lot of those. Gotta get my niece into the Friendship is Magic My Little Ponies. Very colorful and fun. I think she'd like it. BSR says, I want Muppets, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That would be hilarious. I honestly would love to see a Muppets Western. That would be so fun. Oh my gosh. Was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly a novel before it was a classic movie? I don't know about that. Crossfire says, Kurt Russell is my imaginary dad too. I look more like him than my dad, and Kurt played minor league baseball in my hometown 20 years before I was born, but still, and he was my mom's celebrity crush. I think he was everybody's mom's celebrity crush in my generation. Have you guys seen the old Kurt Russell movies when he plays Dexter Riley? I think that's his name in all in every single one of those shows. It was the Disney movies where he plays a college kid. There's a whole series of movies where Kurt Russell is a college kid named Dexter, and none of them are supposedly related to each other because he's obviously got a different story in each one. He's doing different things. Like in one, he's a computer science guy. In another, he's like a chemistry science kid. And then in another, I don't know what he's doing something, but he's a law student. Really funny movies. My favorite is The Strongest Man in the World, where he accidentally takes a cereal, a breakfast. They spill a chemical into a breakfast cereal, and he eats the cereal, and it makes him super strong for like 10 minutes or something. It's really funny. Oh, they do some hilarious. And then Blackbeard's Ghost is kind of in that same realm. I get the same vibes as Blackbeard's Ghost that I get from The Strongest Man in the World. Let's see. Lord Wahoo. It's ironic because Steve Carell's character was the one least like their British counterpart, but he made it his own. And I think he understood the concept. So I've got a video actually that's not complete for my other channel. I was going to upload it before I was going to do my Full Metal Alchemist video. I've got a Full Metal Alchemist video that I want to put up. It's very long though. And before I put that one up, I was going to do one on characters like Michael Scott in The Office, which is despicable, but we love them. Lovably despicable. Like, why are there some characters who are despicable and yet we don't hate them? We sort of love watching them. There are certain elements that I think are necessary in a character to be likable while still having mostly chaotic or despicable characteristics like Michael Scott. Like, for as bad as he was, he had good intentions, even though his intentions weren't always good. Like, he thought they were good, and in his twisted way thought they were good, even though they were terrible. So I think that's one of the big key things, is that the intention of the character is always good. And then there has to be a level of competence. You can't be a complete bozo. And there were times when he would, he was obviously a pro at playing the political game in certain situations. And he also was an excellent salesman in certain situations. McFeet, the Muppets did a great job with the Christmas Carol. The Muppets should do all of Shakespeare. Yes. The Muppets Hamlet, the Muppets Romeo and Juliet, the Muppets Julius Caesar. Yes. They absolutely, oh my gosh. The Muppets A Midsummer Night's Dream would be hilarious. They could do so much. 12th Night, that would be fantastic. Sir Blaze says, haha, potatoes. Yep, that's where it comes from. He looks a little bit like Samwise Gamgee. I think that's where it came from. That one is for Sir Blaze. This one's for me. BSR, Starfleet Academy show is coming. I'm not hopeful. I know, I honestly, as much as I really, really want to see a Starfleet Academy show, I feel like they don't end up doing the stuff that Star Trek fans want to see. We are a very specific breed. I don't know if people are aware of this, but Star Trek people are not Star Wars people. There's something about the Star Trek vibe. It's more about philosophy, politics, and spirituality. Like, there are deeper issues that have to be very strong in your storytelling, and there needs to be a large cast of really dynamic characters that have unique characteristics. Like the idea of Spock, a character who's trying to understand humanity. What did they do in The Next Generation? Well, we got Data now. We got a character who wants to understand or become human and aspires to be something flawed. Like there's something very intriguing about this particular type of character. You have to have something like this. So come up with some new concept. Maybe you have a clone, somebody who's only like technically 5 days old, but they have like a super smart brain because they've been pre-programmed with a bunch of knowledge. Maybe they're perfectly human, but they just don't have any experience. They have tons of knowledge, but no experience. And that would be interesting to see. Like, there's so many things you could do. Let's see. I really wanted that show, Kyle XY. Remember that? Ended up being a terrible show, but I loved the first couple episodes. Like, this is so interesting. I love this. I think they're going to do great things with it. And then they just turned it into a teen drama. And I was like, whatever, don't care. Let's see. I would have the Swedish chef play Kurtz. Yeah. Perry Wolf. Yeah, it was same character. I just can't remember the names, only New York. That's why Top Gun Maverick worked. Tom Cruise was that character. Yes, that is really why I believe that that Top Gun Maverick worked, is because they continued to honor the same character. So what was it that we liked about Tom Cruise's character in the beginning? He was a little bit arrogant, and he was super talented. We loved that. We didn't have him in the sequel not being a badass. He was a little more grown up, a little bit wiser, but he was still reckless, still did his own thing, and he was still the guy that everybody else wanted to be. If you take a loved character like that, like think about what they did with Han Solo in the more recent trilogy. Why would you do that? Or like what they did with I can't speak about Indiana Jones because I have not seen that one, but I've heard about it. And if it's true, another character you take and you just say that they're not good anymore. Like Luke Skywalker, what the hell was that? Even Mark Hamill himself commented, this is not the Luke that I know. He should know the character best of everybody. Oh, great. My stupid chat just skipped again. Okay, let's see. Where are we? DS9. Okay, no. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm going to be not having... Okay, so I'm going to go through the ones that just have my name on it really quick. We started with BSR doing Starfleet Academy. Show is coming. I'm not hopeful. Skipping down. Next one is from Winter Rose. I know I'm not doing a select chat, just so you know, because I have to use my other chat window because the other one is skipped. Have you seen the Muppets version of Bohemian Rhapsody? Once it's finished, remember it was made long before COVID. I think I've seen it, but it's been a long time, so I'll have to go look at it. I mean, I probably saw it before COVID. Star Trek Prodigy has a lot of mentor cadet stuff, but with Janeway instead of Picard. Really? Star Trek Prodigy. I have not heard of that. Shy says, I always loved Q because he was able to contrast with the seriousness of the crew in a way that made sense while being very aware and wise at moments. Right. You really didn't. He plays the classic Shakespearean trickster character, or the court jester character. He humor, and the way he uses humor is in a way meant to provoke humanity into a certain state. And you'll see this done in Shakespeare quite often. Despite being the jester, they are typically the observer. They are wise. And if you think about it, in order to be a good comedian, you really need to understand human psychology and know where its sensitive spots are, know what human psychological reactions are going to be to certain issues if you twist them in a certain way. So, or, in the way that you present them. So I think that there's something that Shakespeare is saying with having characters be like that are in the jester role. And that's what Q is. Except you also never know just how much he knows, just how powerful he is. He is omnipotent, as he says, but he tosses it around like a joke. And then you realize it's no joke. Okay. They're making a Star Trek Academy show. The Doctor will be in it, but I'm afraid they'll forget that the Academy only accepts the best. It's like MIT and West Point. I wonder. I mean, you can still have goofiness in that. I mean, don't we all remember Real Genius with Val Kilmer? Let's see. Koba says, talking of just fun shows, I loved what they did with Lucifer. They took established lore and had fun with it and had great character development over the seasons. So I know I've used a few Lucifer quotes in my videos. Mostly that is stuff that I've gotten from other people recommending you should, just try this part and, go here. And also there's some websites you can go to find good clips. But I have not seen Lucifer. I know what it is. I think it's just one of those shows that doesn't resonate with me, like the idea, the concept of it. I'd probably check it out. Like, I mean, I didn't think Buffy would be something I would like, but I loved it. I watched that, oh my gosh, decades ago. I watched that like shortly after it came out and like completed because I was able to binge the whole show. My aunt had every episode on DVD, so I was like, I'll borrow those, thank you. Talking of just fun shows, this is from Koba42. I loved what they did with, I just read that. Psh, BSR, sorry about that, Koba. I didn't mean to forget your name there. Let's see. BSR says, Strange New Worlds is lighter, episodic. I think it's much closer to classical Trek, but it's not perfect. I'd be interested in taking a look at it. Did anybody watch Star Trek Enterprise? I was just kind of bored with the first couple episodes, but again, it's one of those things. It's an older style of show. You have to sit and watch it for a few episodes to get into it. Yes, Lucifer was phenomenal. Skipping ahead. Elisare says the Orville is the show for old school Trekkies. Yes, it is. It leans away from the comedy and gets more and more serious over time. It did, yeah. King of Mad Cows. Oh my gosh, I have to stop doing this. Why is it doing this? DS9 still keeps Trek's optimism. Yep, it does. They have a Ferengi who wants to join Starfleet because his father is bad at making money, so he wants a better future for himself. I like that. Sir Blaze. I have watched all of the Orville, but only once through. And there's like a couple episodes I've seen more than once because I wanted to show somebody else. But yeah, I do love the Orville. I think it's really, I just remember going like every episode going, this felt like The Next Generation, but with comedy. I watch a lot of Disparu too. I think a lot of people who watch my channel watch Disparu because he did so many of the deep dives into the Wheel of Time show. He has come in here and chatted a few times. Let's see. I wanted to bleach my eyes and brain after that episode with Bortus's porn addiction. Oh, I'm sorry. To me, I was just cracking up. I was cracking up at the funny stuff, but then at the same time, I was going like, I'm so glad that they're doing an episode where they're making a commentary on addiction, like on holodeck addiction, as if it was the same thing as like a porn addiction or a sex addiction. BSR says, plenty of kinky holodeck stuff in the Next Generation in DS9. Yes, Barkley was an HR9. Yes. So, but see, that's what I'm talking about is this is why I'm like, they took stuff that I remember Next Generation doing and then they put their own spin on it. Like that, to me, the episode where the guy got addicted to the holodeck in the Orville was just like a Reginald Barkley episode because he himself was really addicted to the holodeck and an imaginary world there. But they were clean about it in his case. And of course, the rest of us were going like, it's a lot you could do here. Let's see. Spacer says, really loved not just the comedy of the Orville, but the underlying subject matter of many of the episodes. Same here. The comedy didn't always resonate with me, honestly. But I loved the other stuff, the stuff that was deeper, and I was impressed like that they were going there. Made me really respect the material because you just don't see that very often. I felt like I was watching a Next Generation episode with comedy. I genuinely felt that watching the Orville. And that shocked me because there is no show that I can go back to like the Next Generation and just put it on and I know that maybe 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5 times, it's going to be something that I'm like, I've not seen anything like this on TV in a really long time and I miss it. And there's so many. I mean, how many episodes are there of Next Generation? Is it 6 or 7? I can't remember. But there's so much material there. Honestly, if you're ever stuck for like, I don't know what to do for a plot, watch an old Star Trek episode. Next Generation has so many stories. Just check it out. See if you get inspired. There's so many plots. Patrick Marchand, I hope I remembered how to say it right, says they never understood that the bad guys in the original series episode Arena was the Federation and the Vulcans. I don't know where you're going with this one. I've watched the original series, I think once or twice, all the way through about 15 years ago. It didn't resonate with me as much as the Next Generation because the Next Generation for me was where they really took off with some of the themes, the exploration of themes. Let's see. Summit says, yep, that legal case of Data's gets forgotten about later with the doctor from, what's STV? And in Picard, they have slave androids. But is that a political issue where is it a subject that they focus on for like a whole episode? No. See, that's the thing. They broke format in Picard, and I think that was a bad idea. Why would you do, if you're making a Star Trek The Next Generation sequel, and of course I know it has stuff from Voyager and DS9 and all this stuff, why would you do that and not have the format be similar to what those series were? I think it's a bad idea. None of the Star Trek Next Generation movies were as successful as the show itself. I think we like the episodic storytelling in this scenario. It's about exploration. The show itself, the thing that they say in the beginning, to explore strange new worlds, that is in itself the experience of the audience as we're watching it. It's not one story, it's many stories. Let's see. BSR says, and then Picard was just like, android slaves are totally cool. Yuck. Shy says, have you listened to the Kermit Rainbow song? Are you talking about Somewhere Over the Rainbow? That one? Somebody deleted a message. Let's see. I think I can get in there. I'm skipping ahead. Spacer says, give me Muppet Princess Bride. Can't wait for it. Honestly, the Princess Bride, I don't know if you can remake that movie. There's something so special about the cast, the music, the kitschiness of the sets and everything. Like there's something about it that is charming exactly as it is. I don't think it could be replicated. I think you could do something like that. I don't know if I've seen anything quite like that before. Let's see. The Cantor Muppet Tales. I could see that. Like the Canterbury Tales, if anybody's not catching on to that. Lots of little stories in there. Let's see. Elmo Sirblay says, Elmo's got a gun. Sesame Street's not real fun. Let's see. BSR says, my mom was more into Wesley Snipes. I'm guessing this is another Kurt Russell character. Googling. Oh, this is another act. Oh, okay. Yeah, Blade. Oh, crap. Did I just close my OBS? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. I thought I closed the streaming thing for a second there. Blade was one that I didn't really watch. So vampires I'm not usually into. I did like the story of Interview with a Vampire. I know that the show now is supposed to be really good. And honestly, I almost watched it the other day, but we've had some chaos in the house here, so I haven't been able to get to it. Let's see. BSR says, it's easier to love despicable people in comedies because there aren't really stakes to their crappiness, and it helps when we're meant to laugh at them. Right, but think about when The Office switched, I forget what the name of the other character was, but the other guy, the other doofy guy who came in and like, okay, now he's in charge in Michael's place. He was not as funny or as lovable as Michael was. And there was something missing in his character. And that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to explore in that video. What was it in his character that Michael Scott had and he didn't? And that's why we didn't love his character as much as Michael's character. Next is Arlene says, have you ever watched The Critical Drinker and his reviews, especially the latest Disney shows? I love The Critical Drinker. When he is, I like, so for me, so I'll typically do my like Wheel of Time videos, and then after I'm done, I'll go and watch other people's videos to like, did I say all the things that they said? You know, like kind of validation for me. Like, was I right or was I just complaining about nothing? And his is one that I like to go to for movies and things like that. I do like Disparu's stuff. They're both a little bit harsher sometimes than I would be, only because I get what they're doing for their audience. Like they have a very particular audience, but honestly, Critical Drinker is a poet himself. The way he describes things is hilarious. He's a comedian. Both of those guys could write comedy probably professionally, and they should. But the stuff that I like is when there are really critical or really thoughtful criticisms of storytelling. You know what I really want to see is The Fall. I love the movie The Fall. That's a Tarsem movie. I forget what the first name is. Something Tarsem. But there's a movie that Critical Drinker did a review on called The Fall. It's about two girls stuck at the top of a radio tower. They like to climb. And I guess the whole thing is actually filmed up like at the top of a radio tower, and it's terrifying, and like they're stuck there for days. And the concept is great. And he did a review on it and said it was fantastic, and I really want to see it now. But I trust a lot of his judgments. I think that both Disparu and Critical Drinker have a good critic's mind, like, but then they're also throwing in a lot to, they're throwing in a lot of stuff to appeal to people who are just frustrated on like a political level or a social level of what storytelling is doing. And I think that if you focus on just that, they don't, but when you focus on it a lot, then you're going to alienate some folks who don't have those same social or political views. And I think that it's not the views that are destroying the story, it's how they're being used in the story, if that makes sense. And like that's like what I was saying about Princess Mononoke, because it has a lot of themes that I don't agree with usually. But because it was presented in this fantastic story and it worked so well with the story being told, I was all aboard. I was like, I'm for this. Let's do this. You know, I love that story. I think it's almost perfect. Like Princess Mononoke is such a perfect story. The ending is rushed a little bit, but otherwise it's fantastic. But it's one of those things that I don't usually resonate with these themes. I don't agree with some of them. I get annoyed by them. But when it was done well, I enjoyed them. So my perspective is when I'm critiquing, I want to explain if something doesn't work, why doesn't it work? Not just this is, a message we're seeing over and over and over again, and people are tired of it, or, people don't like this and disagree with it, and so you're alienating a bunch of people. I think to just say that isn't enough for people. And so that's like kind of what my goal is. Like, I want to dissect. It's not just the idea. It's how it is done that is the flaw. Okay, let me get back to catching up with people. Wow, sometimes I just ramble. Eileen says, have you ever watched oh yes, I just read that. Blah. Skipping ahead to Pink Peonies, if I could just read it. Says, maybe Michael Scott was still likable because his character had relatable human vulnerabilities. That is definitely a part of it. And it's you kind of sympathize with him. So that there's the intent is very important, like the number one important thing, because I think that is actually maybe one of the things that made the follow-up character, the not Michael Scott guy, whose name I can't remember, the one who liked to sing, that one, he had a lot of relatable human vulnerabilities too, but his intentions were not always innocent. And I think that's what spoiled his character a little bit, is that we kind of saw that what he was doing was mean-spirited. And Michael Scott was never like that. Okay. Okay, hang on. I'm going to try and pull this one up on my other one. Yay! Okay, I'm caught up, sort of. Not really. J. Ramble's universe. Can something be so bad, a bad adaptation, but good film? Yes. Oh, shoot. Hey, people, start brainstorming. What is something that is not a faithful adaptation, but it's still good? Do you mean a bad adaptation, like they didn't do it well, as in they screwed it up, or they just deviated? Okay, for me, I think that the Harry Potter films are actually pretty good, especially the later ones. I know people are like, no, the beginning ones are good. I'm like, okay, the beginning ones follow the books more, yes. But I think that there's a lot of stuff in books that will not translate well to film, and you do have to cut stuff. I know, for me, I'm one of those people who I don't want you to cut anything, but it has to be done in film. Otherwise, you get too much packed in there, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't resonate. Remember, it takes a long time to consume books and shows. It does not take a long time to consume a movie. I'm very curious what they're going to do with the show for Harry Potter, but you have to cut a lot of stuff, and that means you have to combine characters, you have to leapfrog over things. I think that the later movies nailed the horror. The thing that they didn't nail as well was this intense desire in Harry to be loved and to have that family unit and having that with his friends. It really was lacking in the later movies, but I actually still think that the movies were good. I think that what they did was still great. I thought that it was an emotional journey. I actually felt like they amped up what happened between Harry and Hermione when Ron betrayed them, like how he was there for her. I know it was even just one scene and it was kind of goofy, where he's like, okay, let's dance, but he's comforting her. They didn't really do that in the book. And he just kind of recognized that she was hurting, that he wasn't there, and she was just kind of going through the motions to continue being supportive. And my sister was the one who pointed that out to me, and I was like, you know what, you're right. They did amplify that in the movie. They just chose other things to focus on, so I felt that was still good. Even Dune has changed quite a bit. I still love the movies. The most recent two movies I think are spectacular, but there was so much that they cut out. So technically, not a faithful adaptation, but still very good movies. I'm so curious what he's going to do for Dune 3. I'm so curious. I think it was just announced that Dune 3 is happening for sure now. Oh crap, it skipped again. If you're in Nope. Nope. Oh my gosh, how far did it skip? Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, I'm just reading the ones that have my name highlighted. Shy says, Star Trek is much less about action. One of the best scenes in The Next Generation is when Picard outmaneuvers the Romulans. Not a single shot fired. Still so intense. Yes, I love that one too. You're talking about the one where he has the what are they called? Oh my gosh, why am I airbraining a Star Trek thing? Oh, come on, they're the samurais. What the hell's the matter with me? I have it. It starts with a K. No, it's not K. Not Vulcan. Oh, I am a warrior. Worf is a. Come on. Oh my gosh. I cannot. Where's my brain? Help. Help. What is it? Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm having to Google what the hell they're called. What alien is Worf? Klingon. Oh my gosh. What's the matter with me? Klingon. I cannot tell you how many times I have watched Star Trek The Next Generation because I love it so much, and I can't believe I just could not remember what I could remember Cardassians, but I could, which I've always thought sounds like Kardashian. Anyway, okay. But yeah, I think that was the one where the warbirds, the Klingon warbirds were cloaked. Next from BSR says, if I could just get rid of this window here. Nerds love Star Trek because it's a universe where nerds are in control. Intellectualism is celebrated, and nerds get to be tough, sexy, and daring. I think we're called geeks now. Just saying. I think actually geeks are into like pop culture, like niche pop culture stuff, like anime and Star Trek and stuff like that. Nerds, I think, do count as intellectual, like, you know, oh, we're into science and stuff like that. I probably both. Definitely more closet geek, though. I think that a lot of my friends didn't know I was really into this stuff. Let's see. King of Mad Cows says, there's a lack of professionalism in most modern Trek. Characters act so casually when they're on duty manning a starship that can blow up planets. Yeah, I don't know if I have paid enough attention to the modern stuff to make that generalization, but I think I've heard that criticism a few times, so you're probably hitting on something true. Nixian Grid says, have you watched The Good Place? Yes, I have. I watched, I think, the first season, maybe. I loved the revelation at the end of the first season because I got it. But I think I got tired of it very quickly. It's funny because it's actually my kind of humor. I enjoy that quirky kind of humor where you've got these characters that are in this fake paradise. You know what it reminded me of is there was a movie, or not a movie, a show, a BBC show. Was it BBC? And it starts out with a guy and he's like in this weird surreal world, and there's this big white bubble, and he's like, I'm not a number, I'm a free man. What is that called? Anyway, it reminded me of that show a lot, and so I was cracking up at that. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling there. If anybody remembers the name of that show, my grandpa liked it. He owned the whole DVD set. Let's see. Augustine says, desecrating beloved characters, Willow also comes to mind. It's just like with Wheel of Time, new writers who don't understand or respect the original. How could you screw up such a unique setting? Willow was such a cool setting. The movie had such a unique magic system. Like there was beauty, but also it was grotesque, and it had this dark world with this underlying hope and beauty. I mean, it was, I believe, Ron Howard and George Lucas. It was George Lucas who wrote it, but Ron Howard, I think, was really the one who elevated it. This was such a cool, unique story. I really, really wanted more just like what we had in the movie, and they just didn't do it. It's the classic good versus evil, but you've got noble characters who rise to nobility. Like they start out like Han Solo. You've got Mad Mardigan. They are essentially the same character, and they become the same character at the end. Oh my gosh, I just love it. There are certain stories that have characters that we just absolutely adore, and you can just have variations of these particular characters, and I don't think you'll be bored. You'll just be getting a new flavor of a character type that you like. Let's see. King of Mad Cow says Paramount sort of canceled Star Trek Prodigy, but Netflix picked it up. Hopefully Netflix has some people who love Star Trek and want to do that. Like, I mean, I only met a handful of people when I went to the Avatar premiere, and I definitely got like, these are geeks. Like, these guys really do love the geek culture. Like, they are in it. And so when I defend Netflix, I mean, I don't defend everything that they've done because I critique Avatar and stuff too. I was shocked at what it seems goes on behind the scenes when it comes to producing a film, because I think that the people who are capable of really creating great things are buried under a lot of bureaucracy and politics that have absolutely nothing to do with creating a great story, but they are unable to stop from happening. And it shocked me. And this is why I have a lot of hope for Netflix. I think that they've got a lot going for them. And I'm just hoping that we get more people who understand storytelling in these higher up positions where they can make decisions about what a final product is. Let's see. Scrolling down. Shy says, watch it for Tom Ellis. You will love this show just for watching Tom Ellis. You will swoon. Who's Tom Ellis? Googling Tom Ellis. I'm very bad with celebrity names. Oh, he's got a nice face. Let's look up some more pictures. He's got a nice body too. What show is this guy in? Oh, is this Interview with a Vampire? He is hot. Hello. Okay, what this has got to be for Interview with a Vampire, right? Do. Oh no, Lucifer. Oh, is he supposed to be a sexy devil? I think I've only had like one clip with him in it, but I don't remember him looking this good. Although they always use their best looking photos for like promotional photos. Oh, I should probably get back to reading people's comments. I'm just going to minimize that tab for later. Okay. Let's see. Skipping down. I'm only looking at the ones that have my name. And remember, it must be the Sword and the Pen Reflections with no spaces. King of Mad Cows says, Star Trek Enterprise got better in Season 3. Season 4 is great since it focuses more on Earth, making alliances and building the Federation. BSR says, I did an Enterprise rewatch last year. It's got an identity crisis. It's super horny, but not sexy. Sorry, that was probably really loud. That's a great critique. I'm going to remember this. And very much a product of its time. But I appreciated that, though. I think I could say that Next Generation is also super horny, but not sexy. So, you know, I mean, the thing is the original series, I could say it's super horny, and it is sexy, but in a certain style. My friend Atomic Age Pictures, who set up all my lighting and my sound, like he's the one who told me what to buy and everything. Like, and I've helped him with some photography and video, movies, like stuff before. But he can remake Atomic Age science fiction sets. Like he can film everything like it came from the 1940s and 50s, like pin up models and stuff. I've helped him with some of those shoots. Like he's really good at capturing that style. He likes the original series. And so I can recognize that that's what it's capturing. It's kind of capturing that old sci-fi damsel in distress, you know, the sexy alien sort of vibe. It's managing to nail that. When Next Generation tried to do it, I was gagging, which is why it really needed to have something deeper for me to connect with. Star Trek Enterprise got better in Season 3. Season 4 is great since it focuses more on Earth, making alliances and building the Federation. Didn't I read this already? I did. Yes. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead. J Rambles Universe. To the Sword and the Pen Reflections. Did you see my super chat? Did I not see it? What? Where'd it go? Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Did I not see one? Did it not appear? My chat window will only go back so far. Wait. No, I see one from Pink Peonies. And I don't see another one. I'm not seeing it. Gosh, I am so sorry. Wait. Oh, here we go. Oh, there. Stop. I can't highlight it. It's one of those ones that my old chat window won't let me look at. J Rambles Universe says, can something be a bad adaptation, but good film? There we go. I gave it a heart just now. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you so much. $2. All right. Like I said, every little penny helps. You know what? Okay, so can something be a bad adaptation, but a good film? I think, yes, I did read this. I just forgot to mention that it was a super chat somehow. I'm sorry about that. Gosh, thank you so much. But yeah, so anybody who can think of a bad adaptation, but a good film, I want you guys to tell me what you think. Like, what can you think of? Because I know there are a lot of them. What was it called? The Life of Pi. I know I've brought it up before. They added a lot and cut a lot, but I still love the movie. It's kind of a spiritual experience. The book is great. It's about a kid who's trying to find faith, I suppose you could say, and realizes that faith itself makes life meaningful and joyful for him. Let's see. Still going back, trying to find all the highlighted ones. Okay, now I'm back. Yeah, okay, so if it has highlighted my name, I usually have that whole comment. If you continue to comment without a highlight, I won't see it. So you have to have the at the sword and the pen reflections with no spaces in each comment that you post, if there was like 2 parts to it. Let's see. Next is BSR says, I want to try the Orville, but I cannot stand Seth MacFarlane. He's not really Seth MacFarlane in this. I mean, if that makes sense. He is kind of in the beginning, but he just takes on the role of the captain, and he's just any other character, sort of like in Next Generation. You are often following the other characters more than that one. Patrick Marchand said, you missed the first part of my comment. I'm sorry. I got to figure out why I can't keep up with all of these comments. Like, why does it skip them? Like, why am I not able to see all of them? Crossfire says, not even First Contact. You know what? I liked First Contact, but it's not one that I go back and watch like a bunch of times. I enjoyed what it was and what it did. It was fun. It was adventurous. It had great action. It was a great concept too, you know, going back and the first warp speed mission, you know, developing warp speed essentially. Had the guy from Babe, and I can never remember that actor's name. But the movies they're not as good as the show. I really genuinely feel that. And I think a lot of people feel that because I don't think that they wanted to have a whole lot of focus on one particular theme. I think that they wanted to just have fun with characters in certain situations. And that's different from what we get in the show, where the focus is the theme and we explore it through a character. It's a different perspective. But when you have the movie, you don't want to do that so much. You want to be like, everybody has to have screen time because we're showcasing the characters in this movie. BSR says, agreed on the Star Trek Next Generation thing. None of the movies are as good as Best of Both Worlds. Why am I blanking on what is Best of Both Worlds? Okay, skipping down to the next one that has highlighted me. Matt Potter says, none of the Star Trek Next Generation movies had very good plots. Much too convoluted. Also, just can't watch Picard. Yeah, I think that's the point that I was kind of making, was the problem with the movies really is that it doesn't have that same vibe as the show, because they are very rarely focused on a theme. They are focused on how can we have a plot, how can we get all of our characters to have some screen time and have some important stuff going on. I think, what was the one, Generations got close, but at the same time, it was still doing that thing. Like, we want to show that what's his face is in here. Bill Shatner. I recommend, this is from BSR, Muppets Haunted Mansion to anyone who hasn't seen it. It's genuinely great. Somebody mentioned it to me recently, and I did not know it existed. So I have to go find it. Muppets Haunted Mansion. I must see this. I will go see it. Like that. What a great idea. What a great idea. Sword in the Pen Reflections. No different song. No different song. Here, I DM'd it. It's very wholesome. Where did you DM it? In the Discord? I'm guessing it's the Discord because I think you're aspiring writer, right, Shy? Okay. Matt Potter says, just watched Hello Future Me's Rings of Power first season review, and it all now makes sense. The showrunners are basically disciples of J.J. Abrams, and it explains it all. Yeah, I loved Hello Future Me's Rings of Power review. Honestly, I could not do it better than he did. Watch what he says. He's right about everything, honestly. He is like one of the best story critics that I've come across. I don't agree with everything that he says, but for the most part I do, and he says it so well. And the guy is a really good writer. Listen to his prose. This kid is going somewhere. If he would quit YouTube and just write books, I'll bet he would be huge. I really do think so. If you're listening to me, is it Timothy Hickson? I've got one of his books over on my shelf. It's like one of my featured ones. On writing and world building. This one is, what is it? It's volume 1. Why is my camera not? There we go. By Timothy Hickson. He basically took a bunch of his video essays and put them in book form, and he's added a few things and put in some diagrams and whatnot. These are so helpful. Like I've taken many college level creative writing classes, and he had the same frustration that I had. Every class, it's like they're teaching creative writing 101. You just feel like, why am I in an advanced level creative writing class learning stuff that I've already covered in the previous level classes like 3 times before? We should be doing really deep analysis of storytelling, why things work. And he does it on his channel. I cannot recommend his channel enough to anybody who is a writer. You want to understand how to write at a higher level, watch his channel. I've yet to see another channel with so many excellent video essays on world building, on character development. It's just so good. You will learn more from his videos than any college class I have taken. I'm just telling you that now. If you're ever thinking of going to get a creative writing degree at school, don't do it. It's a waste of time. You can't learn anything. And I'm not saying this about every college class, whatever, but in creative writing, I never took a single class that was as good as the videos that I see on his channel. Just saying. Brought to you by The Sword and the Pen Reflections. Anyway, no, not brought to you, endorsed by. That was a terrible commercial. Anyway, oh my gosh, I think I'm going way over time. I'll keep going if people want to keep going. I can't believe my voice is doing okay. I haven't taken a break. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Sir Blaze, if you're interested in The Fall, then maybe also try Phone Booth starring Colin Farrell. I know what that movie is. I'm not a Colin Farrell fan. I'm just not. I kind of feel about him the way he's presented in the movie The New World. He plays John Smith in The New World, kind of a character that you just can't stand by the end of it. I think like people love him in the way the Pocahontas character loves him in the beginning of that movie, and then by the end, like I feel about, he's a great actor. I just don't particularly enjoy his roles or watching him on screen. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. I don't know anything about the actor. I don't enjoy it for some reason. In the same way, I love watching, what's her name? Sigourney Weaver. I don't know what it is. I've got like a woman crush on her. She is so cool. I don't know anything about her as an actress or anything else like that, but I just love watching her on screen. Inexplicably. Like, there's no reason for me to. Whatever role she's playing, I'm there for her. The Shining comes to mind, says BSR, as an unfaithful good adaptation. I have heard this as well. I've not read The Shining. I'm not a huge Stephen King fan. I read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon and really enjoyed it. It really stuck with me. And I've read Carrie, and I think I've read one more, but I don't remember. And I just am not into it that much. Lord Wahoo says, Jurassic Park is a terrible adaptation, but it's a fantastic film. Yes, I know Jurassic Park, the book, is actually pretty good too. But I think the movie is, again, an example of, yeah, I think you're right there. But I don't think it's supposed to be, it was never, I don't think the intention was ever to claim that it is an adaptation so much as we love the concept presented in Jurassic Park. We're going to make a summer blockbuster type film out of it. Kids and adults running with their own dramas, running from dinosaurs, like Twisters. I have not seen Twisters. I want to see it because I was one of those kids who watched Twister when it came out. I loved it. I know it's a terrible movie, but I still loved it. Starship Troopers, this is from Sir Blaze, is supposedly a bad adaptation, but damn, it's a fun movie. I've seen Starship Troopers a couple of times, a long time ago, and yeah, it's so cheesy, so corny, but I think it nailed what it's supposed to be from what I understand, that it's supposed to demonstrate sort of the propagandized idea of what military life is or could be, and in the cheesiest ways that you can do it. Spacer, The Martian wasn't a faithful adaptation, but the message was there. I have not read the book, but I know how it was made, and I love the story of how The Martian was written. If you don't know it, go look it up. It's a fun one. Well, I'll just say, I mean, basically, from what I understand, a guy was writing it and publishing every chapter on his like creative writing blog or whatever, and it attracted the attention of some real like NASA physicists and stuff. They were reading it too, and they would send him feedback saying, oh, you need to change it so it's like this to be more scientifically accurate. And so he has some very accurate concepts that are put into his storytelling. And so for me, that's fun. It makes me think a lot about, well, not a whole lot about Star Trek Next Generation. I'm just thinking of Star Trek Next Generation now because we've been talking about it, and I want to go watch a show now. No, I'm not going to go watch a show. BSR says, His Dark Materials comes to mind as a very faithful adaptation that didn't present that material very well. Accurate, but poorly told. Are you talking about the most recent one? Oh, wait, yeah, the most recent one was His Dark Materials. The Golden Compass was the part 1 that never got a part 2, right? I haven't watched His Dark Materials. I haven't read the books. I've tried. It's one of those ones that, I started and I kind of got the vibe that this isn't going to really be my thing. Not that there's anything bad about it. It didn't draw me in. I'm sure it's good because I know it's got a reputation for being really cool. Augustine says, Deviations from books to adaptation. Lev Grossman's Magician's book was awful. The show, though, I enjoyed. Okay, I feel the same way. So I could care less about the Magician's book. I only read the first one. But I watched the show and I was like, this is doing some really cool things. It again kind of got into the teenage drama, and that main character was kind of bugging me. But at the same time, I really liked that he was struggling with these things. I liked that it had this theme of looking at fantasy worlds from not an adult perspective, I would say college age perspective. Like the forest of fairies or something like that. Turns out there's this like cloud in this forest and it makes you super high. So when they were like reading books about kids who were going through this forest and they were seeing all these weird things happening, they realized as they're walking through, like, oh my gosh, those kids that we were reading about, they weren't in like this wonderful magical place. They were just high as hell as children. There's funny stuff like that, but then they do take it a little too far sometimes. There were a few moments where I was like, this is way too gross for me. Like some god, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but a girl has to drink some stuff to get a certain power, and it's disgusting, and I can't handle that. Let's see. Augustine says, deviations from books to adaptate. Oh, yep, I just read that. King of Mad Cows. The Boys is very different from the comics, but much better. The Shining, Godfather, Starship Troopers, Jurassic Park, good movies, very different from source material. Before I forget, I do want to ask people, because we've already gone over time, but I'm just going to keep going for a little bit more. Throw out some stuff that you want to see me do. More, I know I've gotten a few, like, Firefly and The Expanse and, what was it, the vampire, Interview with a Vampire. Like, I've gotten a few things like that. Like, what are some concepts that you want me to explore? Let's try that. Let's see. Ready Player One was an adaptation that substituted completely different elements of the treasure hunt. And in that respect, it was a bad adaptation, but a good movie. That was from Trevor Lorne. Yeah, I read the book and watched the movie. And honestly, I was indifferent about the movie. I liked some of the changes that were made, but at the same time, I felt like they missed some stuff. I feel like there was a race, a constant race in the books, and somehow I felt like that was lost in the movie. Maybe I'm not remembering it right. I've only read the book once, and I've only seen the movie twice. I saw it once and was like, I don't need to see that ever again. And then I saw that it was on TV, and I was like, I'll watch it again. And I don't think I paid much attention to it. But anyway. Okay, BSR says, I hope someone recorded Amber's brain fart. Well, the whole thing's being recorded. It's on streaming, so maybe we'll turn it into a thing. Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That I've always made jokes like that. Like, why does it sound so much like Kardashians? But the Kardashians sounds like Kardashians. Any plans for Andor review? It's a masterpiece and Disney doesn't deserve it. Sorry if the question was already answered. I wasn't planning on it. I could probably review it. You know what? That movie. What was the name of the movie? The one that had that covered those characters. Well, that character. You know what I'm talking about, is the Disney standalone, that one. It was a standalone story where at the very end, it had Princess Leia in CGI, and her one word, she's like, what is it? And she looked up and she said, hope. That movie I thought was so good. It was a little confused in its themes. I think I saw somebody do a review on it and they nailed it. It might have been Hello Future Me also, actually. But I thought it was such a great concept. Why don't they do that? If they want to tell lots of different stories in Star Wars, do that. I really felt like we were in the Star Wars universe with that movie, and yet it felt like its own thing. I loved it. I also, what a trip, because I saw that in theaters, when you don't get the scroll at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is not, this is Star Wars, but not Star Wars. I don't know. I was so excited about that. Okay, moving on. Harasel Endar? Harasel? Did I get that right? Harasel Endar says, any plans for an Andor review? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just didn't read it before. Okay, I want to see if I can... I'm not catching up fast enough. I got to really zing through these. Okay. Sir Blaze says, only lore I'm good at is The Next Generation. What race is war again? But it was just a brain fart moment. Come on, gotta give me a break. Honestly, I got so many stories in my head. Oh yes, Matt Potter, it was The Prisoner. So when I was talking about that weird place with, the white bubble thing and the guy who says at the beginning, I am not a number, I'm a free man. Yeah, what a trippy show that is. So weird. But at the same time, there's something about it. Let's see, scrolling down. BSR says, Willow was awful, but I never would have found this channel without it. Oh, really? Well, then I can be grateful to the horrible Disney Plus adaptation for that. Thank you. Winter Rose says, you are thinking of the 60s show, The Prisoner. Yes, I was. King of Mad Cows says, The Good Place is very Star Trek. It uses an out there premise to catch your attention and then discusses ethics, moral philosophy, and existentialism. That's true. I think that's why another one of the reasons why I was drawn to it. It also has sort of a quirky, fun humor to it that I personally really enjoy, like Psych. I'm a huge Psych fan. I really love Psych. Especially the early seasons are so good. But there's something about that fun love of a charm. There, I should maybe analyze what it is about that particular type of humor that I just really enjoy. It's like a feel-good humor, but it's also clever, and there's something nostalgic about it. It's not too quirky either, because I don't like things to be overly quirky. Anyway, BSR says, Willow's final battle came down to an old lady fist fight. Magical. I actually think that the wand battle between Bavmorda and Rizal is more intense than Gandalf versus Saruman. I love that fight. That movie, I want it in like 8K, like if it ever, like I want it always in the highest resolution. If you've never seen it in Letterboxd before, it is beautiful. Ron Howard, remember, directed like Gladiator. He's really got an eye for, was it Ron Howard? Yes, he was. He's directed some of the most beautiful films. He did Legend with Tom Cruise, which, you know, it's an 80s fantasy. Everybody's like, it's cheesy. It really nailed a theme, and it's just beautiful. Every image is so poetic, and he does that in a lot of his movies. And that's not Ron Howard, is it? No. Okay. Ron Howard is Willow. Who the hell did Gladiator? It's not Ron Howard. Who am I thinking of? Whatever. It wasn't Ron Howard, but I love whoever that director is. I think my brain just went in a million places all at once. Anyway, let's keep going. Daniel Heron, $5. Holy moly. Let me see if I can find that now. Oh my gosh, I'm so behind. Okay, Daniel Heron says, should I buy an antique grand piano? If it sounds good, honestly, when people buy instruments not for playing, just for decoration, I do find that to be a pity. So if it sounds good, if you can get it for cheap, why not? My grandfather has a beautiful concert Steinway. He's passed away now, but it sounds spectacular. And honestly, it's hard to be satisfied with the sound of any other piano than one that's at the highest level. I bought an upright player piano. It was like a 100-year-old piano, and it had a bunch of rolls that you could put in it, and it didn't work. And so I was restoring it, and oh my gosh, this thing was a beast. It took 4 people to move this piano. It was so huge. It's just an upright, but it was so heavy. But I had to take out some pedals and put in some new ones, and I was trying to fix the bellows in it because the bellows weren't working. So I couldn't use the player part of it very well. All right, anyway, going on. Okay, I've got... Oh my gosh, it skipped ahead again. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm zinging through to catch up. BSR says, the original series of Star Trek is incredibly sexy, but because in the 60s the outright horniness is restricted. I don't know, it seemed pretty outright horny to me. Just saying. Starship Troopers, bad adaptation, awesome, fun film. Yes, I agree. Matt Potter says 2001 A Space Odyssey, great book and film, but very different apart from the basic story. I've never read it, excuse me, but I have seen it. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I do respect it for what it is, if that makes sense. It's one of those things where, like, I can see that this is good. It's just not for me. I've seen it. We're great. Don't need to see it again. Didn't they make a second one? Let's see. Spacer says, my final thing... I'm sorry I'm not highlighting these guys. The reason I'm not is because the chat box that I use to highlight stuff, it's so far, like, I can't go back this far. So I've got to try and go through really fast and get caught up. I'm going to try and do that now. My final thing about the Wheel of Time adaptation. One thing in any adaptation is to respect the world invented by the author. You don't change it because you think you're better at it. And that was from Spacer. So my friend at Netflix, this was something that they said. I'm always trying not to reveal if it's a man or a woman. I don't want to spoil anything. for that person. So if they get in trouble for me talking about this stuff. But one of the things that they said was how shocked they are that there are so many writers out there in Hollywood, that is, that think that they can do better than the original. They were like, I'm blown away that there are people actually out there who think they could do a better job at telling a story than somebody who has already written something that like hundreds of thousands of people have loved for decades, like Wheel of Time. They're like, I can't understand how you could have that mentality. Who here thinks they could write better or more successful story than J.R.R. Tolkien? Or than Robert Jordan, or J.K. Rowling, or any of these big, huge authors. Like, how could you think you're better than they are? If you were, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You may think that you're at the top. You are not. You are adapting a story from another medium. Unless you are Ron Howard, or you are one of those top people already, you probably aren't that good. So don't change it. Don't. And this person completely agreed with me. And just so you know, not everything that comes out of Netflix goes through this person's hands. It's a specific department, certain shows. But I will tell you this person has been the grand overseer of like their 5 most successful shows in the last 6 or 7 years, something like that. So they definitely know what they're doing. And it's a fight. I get a lot of, it's a major struggle. This person telling me I'm the only person doing this. There's like maybe 2 or 3 other people, and it's like me against everybody else trying to speak for the quality of the story and being faithful in adaptation. They got in touch with me because they saw my video, faithful adaptation or something on faithful adaptation or whatever. That video, apparently they shared it with like the entire group at Avatar. Like watch this. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I mean, all I did was say what I think everybody was thinking. And I think we resonated with a lot of people that like, isn't this exactly what we're always trying to do? We're trying to be faithful, and you can be faithful to material and still change stuff. You have to be honoring the source material. This is why Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, despite its changes, is still considered a beautiful, accurate representation of what the books were. Because remember, it can't do everything that the books did. It had to cut things. It had to condense things. It had to, I've never used the term before, but Amy Stewart, who's another YouTuber, she does really great reviews. You should watch her channel too, Amy Stewart. Truncation. She's right, that's what it's called. You take several plots and smush them together sort of so that it's one plot now, and you're still covering the same important points or the same important ideas. It did such a great job at honoring the source material despite having to change some things. Okay. I gotta move on. Oh my gosh, I'm really rambly today. Let's see. Elmer B says, Master and Commander picks bits and pieces of a 20-book series, but delivers a good movie and still very respectful to the original. Elmer B. I love Master and Commander. Can I just say that? What a thrilling story. I've heard Master and Commander described as Star Trek at sea in, I forget what time period that is the 1700s somewhere. And that's what it is. It is Star Trek at sea. Like, watch that movie, Master and Commander, and it's beautiful. I love it so much. That's another one. I will put that on every once in a while, just for the mood. I just love it. So thrilling. Such a grand adventure. Okay, Spacer says, remember, I'm reading only the ones that have my name highlighted. That is at the Sword and the Pen Reflections with no spaces. And I'm going to go, gosh, I keep saying it. I have to zoom. I'm going to do it now. Spacer says, Rafe, you and the writers are not better at creating a fantasy world. Keep that in mind. Yes, I'm not. And he's not. They aren't. Nobody is, like, you're not going to be better at it than Robert Jordan. You're not going to be better at creating that world than Robert Jordan. So don't try to create your own world. Create that world, especially if you're going to tell people this is Robert Jordan's world when it's clearly not. It's your own world. Scrolling down, BSR, Best of Both Worlds equals Locutus of Borg. Yes. Ah, I love those episodes. So intense. Could you imagine getting to the end of that season and like going, what are we doing now? Like, what are we? But then again, shows came out a lot more frequently then. They were produced faster. They told better stories and they were produced faster and they had just as much special effects. They just knew how to do them in a way that didn't take forever to do them. Practical effects means that most of it is in the can. You don't have to do stuff in post. Take the lesson, folks. And it looks better usually, most of the time. I mean, if it's done right. I'm moving on. Trevor Lorne says, Best of Both Worlds, where Picard becomes Locutus of Borg. Oh, okay, this is another person saying. I guess I was saying, we must have been talking about Star Trek then. Okay, scrolling down. Keep going. Lord Wahoo said, hello, future me. Yes. Do-do-do. Oh, somebody here said, CH says, hello, future me was a channel I watched until I just couldn't agree with some of his takes. I don't always agree with all of his takes either, but it's his video essays on writing and storytelling that I think are spectacular. I honestly have not seen anything better than his video essays on all of YouTube. I've seen a few very good ones, but as far as a channel in general goes, his is just peak level, high level writing concepts discussed in depth with research behind them. I just love it. I wish he would be writing more fiction as an author than doing these essays, even though I'm very happy he's done these essays. I feel like he's done quite a few. He can stop and just write. I want to see what he can do. I want to see more of what he can do anyway. I know he's doing stuff though. But anyway, as someone who is trying for that one of two majors, yeah, they teach little. That is from Shy, who I believe is an aspiring writer. Sir Blaze says, Discord. Okay. Wonders what At the Sword and the Prisons do. Oh, okay, Discord. So when you become a patron, you can join my Discord, and I chat with people on there. It's kind of a quiet place lately, and that's mainly my fault because I'm not keeping things going in there. And a lot of that is because I'm literally spending every spare second that I have on doing videos and editing and stuff. So sometimes if I have the baby, because I watch my sister's baby during the day, I'm able to like hold her and I'm like responding to people on my phone. So I typo a lot on my phone when I'm responding to people, just so y'all know. That's why I typo so much and why none of the stuff I may say is like what? Doesn't make much sense. But a lot of times that's me responding to comments on my videos. Like I feel like I have to do that because keeping engagement in the comments is really, really helpful for my channel. But anyway, I do want to chat more. I want to do something like playing games in the Discord. Somebody started a D&D group in my Discord, but it never actually got to launch. Like they never got to start the game because they lost some players. Hey, if you're in my Discord and you want to play D&D, let's get this going. I want to watch a D&D game because I've never watched one before. I know what it is. I know how it's played. I know all this stuff, but I have never watched a game and I want to watch one. And I thought this will be a great way for me to do it. I can like even go back and read everything and watch it. It'll be great. I'm thinking of starting a writing group in my Discord as well, like a critique group where we would critique each other's work. And I'll go in there and I won't be able to read everything with people, but I will guide the group and help make comments. And I'll occasionally read a few things from people. And I think it would be helpful for learning how to form a critique group. Sir Blaze says, I'm not a fan of him in particular. It was a good suspense movie. Don't know. Oh, Colin, in response to Colin. Got it. Winter Rose says, Tim Hickson, hello future me, also writes short stories, but I don't think he writes long stories or books. I think he is writing them, but writing one. I'm pretty sure I heard that he was, but I know he's in Europe somewhere right now. His wife, he got married a couple years ago. Or a year ago, I don't remember, but she is in school in some European country and he's with her. So he's not doing videos as frequently. So I'm hoping we're going to see a book from him. I think he wants to write sci-fi. I want to see him write sci-fi and fantasy. But I think he's also really drawn to contemporary drama where they talk about mental health issues. And I think that's where he gets so good at analyzing storytelling. Like I've got an interest in that sort of thing too. Like Criminal Minds is my favorite of all of the crime shows because it's about the mind of the criminal, which to me is like the mystery box. I want to open it and like I want to see why does it work this way. I'm very weird that way. Okay, let's see. Matt Potter says, agree with you on Colin Farrell, but is great in Bruges? That must be a movie. I don't know it. I'm sorry, I gotta get to where I can start highlighting people again. Okay, I have to zing through some of these so I really get caught up. I saw Sigourney at a candlelight procession in Epcot a few years before COVID. I was awestruck and it was a great experience. I'm jealous. That was who? That was Zedekias. Zedekias said that. I know I'm not highlighting names. Again, the reason is because I have to get caught up. So I'm going to zing through. Arlene, for some reason, the sword and the pen reflections is not highlighting in your comment, but I still noticed it. So October Sky was different from the book. The father in the book was very supportive, unlike the movie. I love October Sky, the movie. I have not read the book. I know what it is. If you haven't seen it, it is so underrated. It is such a beautiful, beautiful movie. It's about the Rocket Boys. It was these American kids who came from like a small coal mining town, and true story. And they decided to start building rockets and trying to send them up because we hadn't sent one up into space or anything like that yet. The Russians had, and it inspired them like, let's do that too. And a lot of it is about a young man who is breaking away from his father's expectations. You know, he wants to build rockets. He's so fired up about it. And his father is like a leader in the community. He's like the foreman of a coal mine, but it's killing him. And he has this really rocky relationship with his son. And but he's like an honorable guy. I love that movie. I cry every time that Homer is looking up in the sky and sees Sputnik for the first time. I cry every single time. Every single time I see that scene. Let's see. Moving down. Okay, Arlene. She was the one who said that. Random Dude says, you'd really enjoy Frieren the anime. You are not the first person who's told me that, unless it's you who's told me that. But I've heard that from a few people. I tried watching the first episode and I fell asleep. Not because it was boring. I know it's a slower pace. I fell asleep because I was like in bed and I was like, I gotta get to sleep and I can't. I'll try watching a show. And I put that on and about halfway through I was like, I'm not making it through this. So I turned it off. But it does look interesting. Looks like it's a new approach to the story. I've heard it's good. Augustine says, morally gray portrayals was one thing Shy and I were discussing earlier. Sometimes it's done well and sometimes it's done badly. I think that'd be a good concept. I like that. How to do a morally gray character properly. I think the key is knowing what journey to take them on. What do you think? If you don't take them on a journey of change to something either better or worse, what are you doing exactly? Let's see. Spacer, thank you for the $10. Let me see if I can find you in here. Oh my gosh, I am so freaking far behind. How does this even happen? Well, I want you to know, Spacer, that I've tried to highlight you, but you're in the wrong chat window. Spacer gave me $10. $10, baby. That's like a Starbucks and a half, almost. A small one. But that's great. Thank you so much. I know I keep saying it, every dollar helps. For those who don't know, I make very little money from my YouTube videos. Like I think for the most part, my videos are making like $40 each. That's about it. So all my money comes from you patrons, and it takes hours to put these videos together, the ones that have the clips in them. I will be doing more of my 24-hour videos. I thought this last 2 weeks or a couple of weeks I was going to be able to produce more, but I couldn't just because we had unexpected, I need to take care of the baby. We forgot that the babysitter was going to be going out of town, so I couldn't drop her off for, a big block of time. And so I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. And then I had my nephew too. But he starts school next week, so things will be a little better. Okay. Thank you, Spacer. Let's see. Okay, Sir Blaze says, Rogue One. Lord Wahoo's. Oh my gosh, is that how far behind I am? Okay, we're zinging. BSR, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Picard Season 3. I did not get to Season 3. I didn't get there. I watched the Q episodes and went, no. Let's see. For a concept, let's see, this is Pink Peonies. For a concept, I'd love to see you do a show on characters whose arcs go from hated to loved. Theon Greyjoy comes to mind. Well, that is going to be my next video, actually. The Greyjoy, it's not specifically on him, but I'm calling it the Greyjoy treatment because it's so his arc in the series Game of Thrones is so focused on just that because we didn't get his complete story. George R. R. Martin did not complete his tale, but he started something, and I want to talk about what it is. So that we're going to do that. We're going to talk about how Moraine's character needs the Greyjoy treatment, essentially. Not exactly the same thing. You'll see what I mean when it comes out. Willow has my favorite wizards duel, says BSR. Me too. It is my absolute favorite, probably with the exception of the wizards duel in The Sword and the Pen, the animated movie. That, I don't think it gets much better than that. But as far as epicness, the Willow sorceress battle is one of my favorites. And you know why? Because in the end, they were equal, and it came down to two old women wrestling over a wand because they knew, like, this wand is it. We both need it. And they're both wrestling over it. Two old women in a fight for their lives over this wand. I love that. To me, that is such good writing because it wasn't, I'm more powerful than you. No, I'm more powerful than you, which you kind of just go, you know, all right, you know, who's more powerful? They're going to win. It literally ended up being two old women physically wrestling over a wand, and one of them punching the other one out is great. Oh, loved it. I can't explain. I maybe I should try to. Ridley Scott, thank you. Thank you. Who said that? Who said that? Oh no, it skipped. Oh, I've seriously got some issues with this thing. Oh, here we go. Okay. That was Matt Potter said, Ridley Scott directed Gladiator. Oh my gosh, is that why I'm so far behind? Okay, we're skipping. Rico Suave says, but there was no unicorn in Alien. No, there was not. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about Sigourney Weaver or are we talking about Ridley Scott? Oh wait, yeah. Okay, no, I get what you mean. It's not beauty in the sense of conventionally accepted beauty. It's artistry. It's the art of the frame. Ridley Scott was an art director before he was a director. And if you watch his movies, they are poster work. Every frame could be a poster. Like Gladiator, the first movie, so beautifully filmed. The way it's framed is gorgeous. Almost every frame could be a poster. It's so beautiful. And I feel the same way about Legend. Legend felt like it's the most ethereal fairy tale-like feeling. Probably even the music. I know that it's got a very 80s soundtrack. It's got a very unique soundtrack. I don't know if you could nail it down as being this is specifically 80s with the exception of it being electronica. There's something very unique about the music in that film. I wish they could do the same thing. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh no, the Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack is where it's at. Honestly, the Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack, although I do think it's great also, it didn't have that otherworldly feel. It felt like another fantasy movie to me. And using Tangerine Dream for Legend was a stroke of genius. I'm not sure I agree with the way it was used in everything, but I still love it. Let's see. Okay, going down. Koba42 says, about future content. I'm mostly here because I love watching a critical mind examine interesting properties and the fangirling. Am I really fangirling after, what do you call it? Wheel of Time? Well, I guess I'm fangirling Lan, but lately, I don't know. I have a short that I made a long time ago and I have to publish it still about how I feel about Lan post a certain episode when he was far less appealing. I'll put it up. I might film it after this and just put it up. Let's see. Koba42. And because you have an entirely different approach to content than you. Okay, what's your approach? Sir Blaze says, yeah, 2010 was the sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Okay, I didn't see 2010. I just know that it existed. Sir Blaze says, The Sword and the Pen Reflections. If Netflix gets a hold of Raymond E. Feist, can you make sure it gets in your friend's hands? I love The Magician. I know. Okay, I'm so bad with names. Now I have to Google, what did Raymond E. Feist? What'd you write, Raymond? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about these books. I know of them, but I've never read them. Magician Apprentice. What is the name of this series anyway? The Rift War Saga. I wonder if anybody's going to make a movie on Redwall. I've not read that either, but I feel like this is a children's epic fantasy that could do really well from what I know of it. Well, I mean, I'll mention it to my friend. I haven't been able to talk to my friend in a while because 3 of the top Netflix shows in the last 2 years are in their hands, and they are all starting their filming for season 2s right now. And they like to have a lot of control over them as much as possible anyway. So they're flying all over the world. Like I'm seeing oh, I guess they're on their way to South Africa right now. Looks like they're back up in Canada. Like they like to be there and be involved. And unfortunately, that's also why this person is unable to oversee more, because they could oversee a lot more, but then there'd be no guarantee that the quality comes out as good, because the focus is on just as much as this person can handle physically. Like, this is as much as I can do. If you add another project, I'll have to step back out of some of these. And I like to be involved in every process, every step of the creation, to try to ensure that it's going where it's supposed to be. I've got so much respect for this person just from what our conversations were. I did not expect this from somebody in Hollywood. And it was funny to be like, oh, you're the person in charge of all the shows that I've liked. Like the ones that I was like, this is great. Why doesn't Netflix make more of these? And now I know why. Because there's literally only one person who is sitting there getting their hands dirty and going through all of the work. And this person is a major geek, but the best kind. So anyway, moving on. Elmer B. I'd say it's Star Trek as written by Jane Austen. What are we talking about here? Write me another comment. Tell me what we're talking about. I'm trying to brainstorm, like, what was they talking? I don't have to imagine that cliffhanger. I lived it. That was a rough summer. That was from BSR. I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, the Next Generation. So when Next Generation came out, when that show came out, I probably could have watched it when I was younger, but my parents didn't really want my sister and I to watch it, and they're like, no, you're too young. And we were pretty sheltered. I mean, not super, but we were pretty sheltered as young kids. At least my sister and I were. And then there's 2 younger siblings that have there's like a 5 or 6 year gap between us. And oh no, it's bigger than that. It's like 8. And my younger siblings, they were able to watch a little bit more intense stuff than I was. Like I remember my 10-year-old brother was a big fan of Gladiator. So let's see. I wasn't allowed to see Jurassic Park when it came out. And that made me sad. I don't have to imagine that cliffhanger. Okay, I already did that. BSR. Scrolling down. Rico Suave says, that blouse looks hot. Hot as in AC? Like, it's so hot out here today. Thank you. It's very comfy. I like it. My friend got this for me for Christmas. Matt Potter says, oh my God, love Criminal Minds too. It's not just that it's about the mind of the criminal and the methods of the profilers, but that it's very character driven too. Yes, it is. And I know that a lot of the CSI, the crime scene shows are. For some reason, this one gets me more. And I think the reason is because there is such an emphasis on empathy and compassion. And because they're they are psychologists, essentially, studying the minds and the psychology of criminals. And they have to be, it's like in Ender's Game, you have to know your opponent on that deep level and understand. And once you understand them, you almost start to sympathize with them. But then at the same time, you don't. Like one of my favorite bits is when the one who has an eidetic memory, he and one of the other guys, I can't remember which one, they get stuck in a cell with a serial killer, and there's something technical goes wrong, and they end up locked in this room with him. They were there to interview him. So they're like, if there was an emergency, nobody could come in and break them out. And the serial killer starts coming after them. And the eidetic memory one starts analyzing the guy and saying, I know why you did I know why you killed people. And he says, because of this and this. And he just goes on and on about like what happened to this person as a kid. And then says, you technically did not have a choice. Like you get, when you killed, it was because you literally had no choice but to kill. You couldn't make yourself stop. Like you had to do it. And it was like, he kind of paused, and like finally the lockdown stopped and electricity came back on. Everybody's able to get out. And the guy's serial killer's getting, the guards come in and they're holding him back, and like, they're reconstraining him or whatever. And the serial killer he's like, wait a minute, before you go, is that true? Did I really not have a choice? Like that realization. And the therapist, eidetic memory guy he's like, I don't know, it's a theory. And then just walks out. And like, but you felt it like, oh my gosh, like they really understood. And then at the same time was like, dude, I was just saying that because I didn't want to die. Like, did I really not have a choice? I don't know, it's a theory. Goodbye. Okay. Skipped again. I hate this thing. I love it, but I hate it. Okay, I just read the Criminal Minds one too. Skipping. BSR says, please skip to Picard season 3. Even if you don't watch the first 4 episodes, it'll be worth it. Really? Can I just skip ahead to season 3? Like, I'll do that if I don't have to watch the other seasons I didn't enjoy. Sir Blaze says it skipped, or I'm so far behind, take a swig. A new drinking game. Oh, sorry, I missed that first. Thanks for reminding me. I really needed a drink. My gosh, we're getting into our 3rd hour on here, but I'm having fun. Are we having fun? I'm having fun. I want to keep going. Let's see. Skipping down. Somebody, and my name wasn't highlighted, but I saw it. Somebody said Howl's Moving Castle is a bad adaptation, but a great movie. I have to agree. I'm one of those people who really loves the book. I love the Howl's Moving Castle series, especially the first and second book. They're so good. They're my springtime reads. So I would read Howl's Moving Castle and Castle in the Air. And then the third one, which is House of Many Ways. I would read those in the spring, like every spring. And then I would read the Harry Potter books in the winter. Don't know why, fall, winter. I don't know why, but that's just what I would do. And I love Howl's Moving Castle. Very different from the animated movie. And the animated movie is like one of my favorite Miyazaki movies. It's so beautiful. Again, the ending is weak. It's rushed. I think that from what I understand of Miyazaki is he's a pantser. He doesn't have exactly where he wants to go with the story. Even like this one. This one is based off of the books. He loved the books, but he wanted to do like an inspired by, like it's called Howl's Moving Castle, and it's definitely not the same as the book, but it's his inspired by, and it's very different. There's still a lot of similar concepts. Lots of the scenes are the same. There are lots of parts where he animated like exactly as it is in the books, and then other things that he did that are like, wow, that's totally different. And the ending is very, very different. And I think he does this pantsing thing because he writes like as they're animating the show, like they're working on it and he's like still working on the next scene. You can't quite have it yet. From what I hear, I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I have heard, like that's how it works. I think he gets to a point where he decides my main theme has been concluded now. It's time to end the story no matter what. And sometimes that makes the plot feel like it ended too quickly. Like they just wrap it up and send it out there. Happened in Spirited Away, happened in Howl's Moving Castle, happened in Princess Mononoke. And And he doesn't do after the climax scenes. The climax happens and we're done. It's over. Like there's no coming down from that high and like seeing the world after that. I'd say Spirited Away did it the best maybe. But the others didn't. Like I felt like the climax for Howl's Moving Castle should have been setting Howl and Calcifer free. And it's like, they get set free. We, there's that cheesy Christian Bale line, your hair looks like starlight. I hate that. There's some translation in there that I don't enjoy. The Princess Mononoke translation I think is perfect, which Neil Gaiman helped with that, by the way. I think it was Neil Gaiman. Or Gaiman. I don't know how you say his name. And it's rushed. The ending is rushed, and they don't have some downtime settled bit after that. It's like he gets to the end and he's like, we're done, goodbye, the end. It just happens very fast. Goodbyes are said and we're over. Anyway. You know which one did it best? I think maybe actually was Kiki's Delivery Service. Kiki's Delivery Service had the climax and it ended, but we got to see a montage of the ending in the credits. Like they had the credits rolling, but we got to see more of what was going on. And I thought that was great. I thought that was brilliant. He should do that more with his movies. Like they should have had the rebuilding of Irontown happening and Ashitaka visiting Princess Mononoke, maybe her coming into the land of humans a little bit more, like with the outer rim villages and stuff. I don't know. Maybe Ashitaka goes back home. Don't know. Let's see. Okay, I gotta keep going. Oh my gosh. I'm rambling like crazy today. You know what? This really does make that happen. Like if anybody's wondering why my videos are so long, I really am 5 hours of pure energy from these things. And you know what I like about these? A little commercial for 5 Hour Energy. All their profit, I believe, goes to some foundation or lab where they're inventing stuff. Like they just sponsor people inventing things, from what I hear. I'm not saying you should always drink these. It's not the best thing for you. Mostly it's the caffeine that helps you get through the day. But it certainly helps me be productive and talk a lot. Okay. Already read that. Already read that. How did this happen? Already read that. 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 Okay. Already read that. That was the drinking game one. Speaking of which, I need a drink. Oh, somebody said something about Redwall. Remember, I'm going to be skipping you most likely if you don't tag me. At the Sword and the Pen Reflections, no spaces. Your friend at Netflix should get you a job, though we'd probably lose you if they did so. I hope they don't. I'd definitely find time to do my 24-hour turnaround videos. Like those are so quick. I got to do more videos like that. It takes me a very long time to set up all my equipment because I don't know if you've noticed, but this is where I live. This is my room. And this area right here is where I sit. That's my bookshelf where I sit and film stuff. Like this is the chair that I sit in. It's not a very big space, but I have all of my film equipment tucked away when I'm just living a normal life. And then I have to take it out and set everything up, telescope my lights up and put my camera up in place. And I have to do tests with the lighting and tests with the sound, reframing, all this stuff before I can actually film. And then of course I have to shower, makeup, hair, because I don't look this good normally. This is like mountains of makeup on top of my face to try to look presentable for public viewing. So yeah, it takes time to film a video. And if I can do my quick 24-hour videos where then I don't have to spend 112 hours editing the video, I can do them quickly. Like most of my 24-hour ones, all I'm doing is cutting dead air. And half of that is done by the Adobe AI. Like they have a thing, we will find the dead air for you and cut it out. It doesn't do a very accurate job, so I have to go in and fine tune every single cut. But at least it does the bulk of the work for me. I would love to work at Netflix, just saying. If anybody over there is watching, I would pack up and move to LA in a heartbeat to help with writing stories. BR Geist says, It's a sad time to be a fan of most of the enduring sci-fi fantasy franchises, as most of the current so-called custodians don't seem to understand what makes them loved. It is very sad. I know, I understand the desire to tell your own stories. The unfortunate thing is, I think that a lot of people in Hollywood, they want that eventually, but there isn't really an option for them. So one thing that my friend told me also is that if you work for a studio, it's kind of against the rules for you to produce your own stories. Like, it's seen as like, okay, you're in there and now you're going to do your thing and write stories, and then, you know, Netflix will produce them. That's like a no-no. That's like, oh, it's kind of a nepotism thing. Like, they have to have their doors open to other people bringing their stories in. But this person could take their story somewhere else, to some other studio, and do it that way. From what I understand. Oh, my voice. I'm starting to get to the limit of my vocal folds. I usually drink some hot water in my break, but I decided I'm not going to take a break this time and just see how long I can go. Okay. Sir Blaze, we're having so much fun. Oh, is that sarcasm or real? It looks like I've lost a few viewers, so I must be carrying on way too long at this point. BSR says, you can totally skip to season 3 of Picard. It's recommended, in fact. Okay, then I'll do that. Matt Potter says, maybe you should do some videos on Criminal Minds. Haven't seen anyone on here, so that maybe is a bit before this kind of content here on YouTube. Not sure how to do it, though. Oh, that's not a bad idea. I do like Criminal Minds enough to talk about it. Honestly, I can't think of a whole lot to critique, like, oh, they did this wrong. Except that there are a few moments where I'm like, well, I know that's not realistic, but that's not a great critique to make all the time. You know, I feel like that's something that happens in every story anyway. But whatever. I just enjoy it so much. I like the things that are explored in the psychology. Okay. M. McFeet. Do you play any video games? I don't. So when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to have video games. But when my younger siblings, the ones that are like 8 years younger than me, when they were like teenagers, my parents did get like a video game console of, what did we have? I wanted a Nintendo 64 because that was the thing. Like when I was a teenager, Nintendo 64 was the pinnacle of gaming. And my neighbors had one, and I would go over there and play there, but we didn't have one. We didn't have a computer either for a very long time. Like, we got one when it was enough that my school kept on saying we had to do homework assignments and they had to be typed out. And I was like, okay, we really need to have a computer. And then I remember chat rooms. I remember being so thrilled by the idea of having a chat with somebody in another country. I remember my mom was in a chat room texting with somebody, and we were sitting next to her on the computer going like, oh, this is so cool. You're talking with somebody in Germany. They were chatting with someone in Germany. She was. And she realized like an hour into the conversation, the person I'm chatting with is a kid. So she's like, she had no idea she was talking to a kid. And like, I didn't realize it at the time, but like what a moment, you know, the first person you chat with in a chat room, which would be kind of like a message board or like Twitter sort of thing. Or I guess Reddit would be the closest thing to like a chat room. And you don't know who you're talking to. You have no clue. For us to find out it was a kid, and she thought she was talking to an adult the whole time. It's just very funny. Because at some point they said, when I grow up, and she was like, not that there was an inappropriateness or anything. It was just like, oh, I never even considered I could be talking to a kid. Let's see. Crossfire. I hope you don't mind that I'm not saying X525. Well, I did just now, but from now on, I'm just going to say Crossfire. Miyazaki's a gardener like George R. R. Martin. Moments of awe-inspiring inspiration, but complete lack of discipline and story structure. Yeah, but the thing is, he's very thematic in his storytelling. He will be very focused on a theme. Like I remember seeing an interview with him where he talked about Spirited Away and the themes in there. Like his main character, her whole thing is becoming responsible for herself because she's a very whiny, complaining kid who's kind of spoiled and like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do anything. You know, she's upset that their family's moving. And at the end, when she takes the train ride, there's a long, long scene where she's just sitting on the train and she's, you know, like being the grown-up she's riding by herself, and she's got her little friends that she has made along the way. She's like, why don't you come and sit? Like, just sit down and wait with me. She took on the responsible role. That was, in his mind, the climax of her story, because she had finally done her adult thing. And anything that came after that, you'll notice, is very rushed. And I think it's because, to him, I solved the problem of my main character, and there's nothing left for her to learn, except for her to just do something with confidence and go. And she does. Everything that happens after that point is like, she's got total control, and she's out, and then she goes home. Her parents are like, how, it might be scary, moving to a new town, but, it could be fun, like an adventure. And she goes, I think I can handle it. And like, that's it. Like, that was the theme covered in that film, was a child who's whiny and complaining and a little bit spoiled, learning to take responsibility for her own actions. Okay, Praterson says, I feel like the only person in the world who found Howl's Moving Castle so terribly boring, I won't watch anything else they do. Oh, you won't watch any other Miyazaki movies? Give Princess Mononoke a try. It might just be that Howl's Moving Castle wasn't your type of story. But Princess Mononoke, I don't know anybody who has seen it and not been like, I can't believe I've never seen this before. There is something so epic about that movie and that story, and it's got some really heavy themes in there, and some really exciting stuff. I just love some of the scenes in that movie. Okay, moving down. Elmer B says, apologies, I forgot the lag between me writing and you seeing it. I was referring to Master and Commander series, feeling like Jane Austen writing Star Trek. Okay, yeah, was it Forrester who wrote? No, it wasn't Forrester. Who wrote? Was it Ian Forrester wrote Master and Commander? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Patrick O'Brien. Patrick O'Brien and Ian Forrester, I believe, are the ones who wrote a lot of the British maritime adventure stories. Was it Forrester? I might be mixing him up with somebody else, and then I'm going to be like, I'm an idiot. Okay, yeah, I am mixing him up. Oh, he wrote Passage to India. For some reason, M. Forster's in my head. Somewhere it'll come in my head what he is. Let's see. It's is it Hornblower? Who wrote Hornblower? C.S. It's C.S. Forrester. That's why. Okay, not Ian Forster, C.S. Forrester. That's why it was in my head. Patrick O'Brien and C.S. Forrester wrote a lot of those British maritime naval stories. I love those. I love that so much. If you haven't seen it, the BBC Horatio Hornblower, fantastic. Especially those first, I think it's 3 seasons. They're really good. There was a final season where the protagonist is a complete a-hole. I don't really care for that. He's not an admiral at that point yet, but I just don't like him. It's like, forget you. I was so behind you in everything that you were doing, but now you're an arrogant a-hole. And it's played by, what's the name of that actor? I really like him. BBC Hornblower. He played in the Fantastic Four. He played the guy who stretches. Okay, I don't know how to say his name. Eoin Gruff. Maybe he'll tell me how to pronounce his name. Ian Griffith? I don't know. Whatever. Now let me get out of here. Oh yeah, he's also in Titanic. He plays the guy who goes back in the rowboat to look for survivors. Is anybody out there? Let's see. Oh, okay, that was all right. Skipping ahead. What? Okay. Rico Suave, 5-hour energy is how truck shipping happens. Oh, really? Is that a lot of truckers use 5-hour energies? I didn't know. Koba said, and that was who? That was Rico Suave. Koba says, what do you mean I don't look this good normally? I've seen the stream test. You two just different. Yeah, I have been told I'm a bit of a chameleon. I have walked in to visit friends at their, like, oh, I'm bringing you this while you're at work. Where do you work? And I show up and I'm not wearing what I usually wear when I just am in hangout mode, like I'm coming from work myself or something. And they don't recognize me until I go, it's me. And they go, oh, that has happened to me a couple of times. And I think it's just the way I do my hair. I don't usually wear glasses like throughout the day. I try to wear contacts, and I've only been wearing glasses for like 2 years. So I think that's different. Crossfire says Nintendo 64. Yeah, I know. Wasn't it I was going to say it was the beep, bad word there, but I want to stay monetized. It was the coolest thing. And it was the only thing for the longest time. I really wanted Mario. I wanted Mario so bad. I really loved it. I would go play it on my friend's like little Game Boy. Okay, BR Geist says 2 films that are lots of fun in isolation but terrible book adaptations are Ella Enchanted and Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Fun in isolation. Oh, okay, I got it. I had to read that again for a second, my brain. Yeah, okay, so I liked Ella Enchanted, but I've only seen it the one time. I thought it was cute and funny. Never read the book. And Percy Jackson, I know a lot of people really love the older movies. I heard that the newer ones were more faithful, but there was a lot of controversy about them changing the races of certain people. For me, race is only important in certain situations. I think that obviously we would like to see what we've always imagined in our heads. And I feel like if you're going to change it, you better be very careful. But like if you're doing a book to film adaptation. But there are a lot of times where it hasn't bothered me at all. Like even some that I'm like, how the hell did this happen? Like, okay, we were just talking about this the other day. Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, the one with Kenneth Branagh, but that guy. Denzel Washington plays the prince. And we're like, I'm pretty sure that there was no, there was no black Italian prince when in this setting, but you didn't care. The performances were just so good. Honestly, I was okay with Denzel Washington's performance in there. I think because I just couldn't unsee Denzel Washington, but he looks great. I mean, he's not a main character. He's just kind of a fun side character. And honestly, his character is friend zoned a little bit. So it's a little sad. But he doesn't seem to be beat up about it. He's like, okay, whatever. It didn't work out with you. I'll find somebody else. Like, all right, if that's how you feel, then I guess it's all right. Okay, BSR. Who is your favorite TNG character that isn't Picard or Data? Mine is Will Riker. He's everyone's big brother on the ship, and I love how much he loves people. I like Worf. I think he's the funniest character in the whole show. He has the best one-liners. Go watch on Geeky Old Hog, watch my my presentation. I do like a 25-minute presentation on Star Trek and my favorite characters. Q is my favorite, but I also love Picard himself. And Data is all right. I really like a lot of the stories around Data. But Worf, and I love Worf's stories too, Worf to me is just the most entertaining character. 99% of the time, I'm really in it. And he's like the kind of character I never thought I would be behind, but I totally was. Let's see. Prater's in. I'm still not caught up to the point that I can start highlighting people's names. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I just have to zing through this. Prater's in says, I saw Mononoke Hime first. It's the only Ghibli thing I have ever liked. I call them anime Disney. Yeah, they are considered I would actually say they're more like Pixar than current Disney. And even past Disney, because these aren't fairy tales. These are mostly original stories, just done with a lot of care and thought. You know what's really wonderful about Miyazaki is he will animate the mundane in a way that is so mesmerizing. You put a Miyazaki movie on in front of a child, like a young child, and they'll just be totally engrossed in a little girl putting her shoes on or making a pot of tea, like doing little mundane things that most people wouldn't take the time to animate. Like, Howl making breakfast is such a memorable scene in Miyazaki. By the way, any food in a Miyazaki movie or a Ghibli film in general, it's kind of an iconic thing. Everybody always loves the way that they animate food. Like, they take the time to show people making food and eating food, and it always looks good. The parents eating stuff at the beginning of Spirited Away, I just love that. If you didn't know it, they get turned into pigs because they see that this restaurant has opened and there's this huge feast that they've laid out and there's nobody there, and they're like, oh, well, we'll pay for it. Once somebody shows up, I got credit cards and cash, so they start serving themselves and they're eating and they're just gorging, and everything that they're eating looks delicious. Okay. Let's see. Even though they're eating like pigs, which then they'd get turned into pigs. BSR says, Worf is a character that I love as a character, but hate as a person. I have deadbeat dad stuff, and Worf's treatment of his son hits way too close to home for me. But see, it's one of those things. It's that Star Trek does. They have real human situations that we can look on and have a discussion about, and they never try to tell you what you should think. There are a few moments where there's a clear good and evil in this situation, but when it comes to complex matters, they highlight why it's complex when it comes to debating what's right or wrong. Sir Blaze says, I would love Much Ado About Nothing. It was brilliant, in my opinion. Why can't I scroll down and see the rest of your message? Oh, here we go. Am I at the bottom? Have I caught up? I love Much Ado About Nothing. It was brilliant, in my opinion. There is a possibility of Denzel's character being black, as could be of Moorish background. Okay, I can see that. That's true. I don't know if it's very likely that you would have someone... I mean, he's clearly if there's a... Yes?
Oh, you still going?
I'm still going, yes. Sorry, that was my dad. He was... Okay, then I'm going to scroll down to where we are. Where am I? I'm here, Sir Blaze. I think it's pretty Denzel Washington is, what would you call it? High content African descendant, right? I don't think you would get that very much in European, around that time, maybe a little bit more. But as a prince, is he a crown prince? He seems to be very high up. But honestly, it's not really explained, and it doesn't matter. I wish that people would do... So, okay. A lot of Shakespeare adaptations are the best... this is what adaptations are supposed to be. You are presenting the same story and the same characters with very slight adjustments, right? Or putting them in different situations, like having, Romeo and Juliet take place in current time. That's an interesting thing to see, but all the dialogue is the same. You could do it without the dialogue even and just have the story and figure out a way to do that. But of course, that takes away what the point of Shakespeare is that his language is what's beautiful. Honestly, his stories are very soap opera-y. But, excuse me, I think we're going to have to call it quits here soon because my voice is reaching its limits. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes, adaptations. That is what I think people who love certain books and older shows and we want to produce it again. They don't want to see that you've changed the heart of it or put your own twist on it or whatever in a major way. They want to see different actors playing out the character that they love, trying to be that character or trying to highlight a certain aspect of that character. But when you're going to change them completely, it's very frustrating. And especially when you're changing a lot of plot things, because characters grow through plot. Okay, I just realized I'm way over time, and I think I'm a full hour and 20 minutes over time at this point. So I'll just read a few more here. Let's see. That was Sir Blaze. Then we've got... Augustine says, you are caught up. Yes, I am, finally. Maybe I can read all comments now. Sir Blaze says, ZOMG, she's caught up. Everybody's shocked. Shy says, Worf wasn't deadbeat, just not great at being a father. I think as though he tried hard and cared. I didn't like that he shoved his kid off with his parents, but I did like that his parents eventually said, you got to take responsibility for your kid, and pushed him back. And then those were good episodes where the two of them were bonding. Summit. Yeah, chat skipped ahead while she wasn't looking. Oh, really? Did it? Crossfire says, oh, that was at Shy. He needed Laxwana to put him in his place as a parent. Are we talking? Okay. It was Troy who ended up being the mentor to Worf. I so wish that Worf and Troy actually did get together in the series. They were pushing that, and there was an alternate future where they did, but by the time you got to the movies, they weren't together. I would have loved it if they ended up together. I thought it would have been the best, like, perfect. Like, he's super passionate, and she's very compassionate. It would have been very interesting. Okay. Honestly, Troy was one of my least favorite characters, but at least they did interesting stuff with her powers sometimes. Annoying stuff sometimes, but let's see. Crossfire says, speaking of Romeo and Juliet in the modern day, have you watched that 90s show and their shout out to Romeo and Juliet? No, I haven't even heard of that 90s show. Is it like that 70s show? I never watched that 70s show. Not really. I've seen a few episodes, but I was like, sort of like my dog is very hungry and needs food. It's almost her eating time. It was like that, the 70s show and The Big Bang Theory. Not my thing, I guess. Let's see. McFeet says, with Shakespeare, you almost have to pick and choose what you adapt, or you end up with an 8-hour play. This is true. I think the Kenneth Branagh movie is like 4 hours long, and it's Hamlet, and I don't think it's abridged at all. I think it's like all of Hamlet. Sir Blaze says, wasn't there a Romeo and Juliet set in modern times in the 90s? Yes, that was with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. I saw that in theaters. I was not impressed with Leonardo DiCaprio at the time. I was one of those people who, like, I don't get it. I don't know why everybody loves him. I didn't get it. Like, I didn't think he was all that attractive. I didn't think that he was a great actor. Like, I could tell he was a bad actor. But good for him going and improving his skills. So he did the right thing. Beauty only gets you so far for so long. BSR says, Amber, I'm running a Star Trek themed D&D game right now. Oh, really? That is so cool. Where is that at? Let's do, I'm going to run through these as fast as I can, and then we're going to have to bug out of here. Crossfire is talking to Sir Blaze, and Sir Blaze is talking back to Crossfire. And Koba says to me, such a good point about different spins on the same character. That's exactly it. And it's not major changes. It's usually just emphasizing one particular characteristic. And I think that, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, for example, his version of to be or not to be is one, it's an interpretation I never would have thought. And it makes you question, which was, I believe, intentional. Like I took Shakespeare as a class where we studied Shakespeare, and Hamlet took us like a very long time. Like we did a way extended amount of time on Hamlet. And all the different interpretations, all the different possible interpretations. And his was, is he aware he's being listened to? And when you listen to the speech with that in mind, it means something else. It's great. I won't, if you want to, go watch it. I won't spoil it. Okay, next. Diego Carafini? I don't know how to, Diego. Says, Akira Kurosawa adapted many Shakespeare pieces to feudal Japan era, and they were so good. That's what I'm talking about. Think about how many, because I like his work too. Think about how many movies we have had that are big hits, and they're based off of Shakespeare, but they're never said, nobody ever says, this is Shakespeare. This is an adaptation of Shakespeare. No, this is 10 Things I Hate About You is The Taming of the Shrew. And what were some others? This is a Jane Austen. Wait, is it a Jane Austen? I forget which Bridget Jones's Diary. Bridget Jones's Diary, I think, actually is a Jane Austen. I think that's Pride and Prejudice. And that's why it was so funny that they had Colin Firth play Mr. Darcy again. But there's a few movies out there like that. But we typically enjoy these stories and the situations that happen. So I'd love to see more adaptations of Shakespeare done in creative new ways like that. Okay, just a couple more. Crossfire says, I'm thinking of the episode with the Ferengi where Laxwana basically becomes Alexander's cool grandma and teaches Worf he needs to relax. That's actually one of my favorite episodes. That is the one where they go into the holodeck. And you know what's funny is like, it's one episode I don't think I would normally like. Like it's not my thing, but it's one of my favorite episodes. When they get Worf into the mud bath at the end. And I also love that thing, the higher, the fewer. That's a really funny line to me. I find it to be a line that I want to say so often. You know, that's a conversation stopper if I've ever heard one. Excuse me, the higher, the fewer. What does it mean? It means nothing, but it also means something. And it just makes you go, huh? Okay, Barry Wolf says, I'd love to see a video on the impact of how streaming services are killing the TV experience with linear stories instead of episodic. It's not the fact that they're streaming, it's just the choice that the streaming shows are making. I genuinely think Stranger Things should not have been a series that went on forever. I think that it should have been a season 1 and done. I've heard that the more recent season was really good. I watched a few episodes of it and liked it, but I haven't finished the whole thing. I did not particularly care for season 3. It lost its original charm, I felt, but might just be me. Anyway, let's see, just a couple more. Looking for Perry Wolf. We got example 8 episodes on a story that could be told in 1 episode. Yeah, but it depends on how you're, like, what story you're telling. Like the example I gave recently with Game of Thrones, with Theon. You have a whole season where it's literally just him being tortured, him being captured and tortured physically and psychologically. And then at the end of that, it's him getting out of being, I think he's no longer being tortured, but now he's in a new stage of psychology where he's the servant of Ramsay Bolton. Wait, is it I don't remember who it is. It's Ramsay Snow? Something. Anyway, whatever. He's the guy who was torturing him. So you got one whole season where it's just him being broken down. And then the following season is him just being like so subservient to this guy because he's been so brainwashed. But not much happened. Like, what happened to him? He was in a dungeon being physically tortured and questioned. He had maybe 20 minutes of time in the entire season, but you felt like he went through something significant because every minute was about a particular part of psychology, which I will get into in my other video. I'm not going to get too much more into here. Okay, we got to finish this up. Arlene M. The best Romeo and Juliet is Zeffirelli's 1970s version. You are correct. It is the best version. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. It really feels like, I honestly feel like that might be the best Shakespeare adaptation I've ever seen. Hamlet and Much Ado About Nothing, both the Kenneth Branagh versions are pretty good too. He did all of them, I think. Has Kenneth Branagh done every single Shakespeare movie, every major Shakespeare play now? Has he done that? I think that was a goal of his. Winter Rose. Good night, Amber. I enjoyed this chat. I hope you can do this earlier time again. I might do an alternating thing. Like, I'll figure it out. I want to schedule these so that I can do a short that just explains when every single one of these is going to be. Like, it won't always be every single or every other week. We'll see. BSR says, Dracula is one of those roles where you enjoy seeing different actors put their stamp on it. Yes. Okay. Frank is it Lemgella? Chef's Kiss. Okay. I don't know who that is, but I agree. And, I think there are a lot of stories out there with such interesting, iconic characters that they can be done in different ways. And that's what we should be doing with our adaptations. Matt Potter says, missed the first hour or so, the live stream. So glad you went so long, but your dog needs you. Yes, she does. She's on a diet, so she gets really obnoxious when she gets hungry. She starts barking and clawing at things. And she's big. I don't know if you guys have seen her, but she weighs like 100 pounds. She's a big wolfy looking dog. Let's see. Have a good night. Had a lot of fun, says Augustine. Thank you. Me too. That's why I went so long, because I'm enjoying myself. Sir Blaze said, enjoyed your time. Have a good one, Fair Maiden. Why, thank you, sir. Crossfire says, Theon's season 3 storyline was to make up for the fact that Theon isn't in a Storm of Swords. The book season 3 and 4 are based on. So I have not read all of A Song of Ice and Fire. I have not. But so I don't know how it goes with him. I like what they did with him. They stretched it out, I thought, in a satisfying way. It was an impactful story, at least. I think I'm all caught up now. And I think that it's time to sign out. So I just want to say, whoops, that was not intentional. And I don't know how to turn that off. Freaking hell. Okay, so that's what happens when you stop paying attention to what you're doing and you just start pushing buttons. So let me change this. It's supposed to go to that. Okay. The end. I'm so sorry about all of that. I really had a good time. I want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm going to be filming my 24-hour thing as soon as possible, possibly after I take a break with my voice, and then I'll just do it and hopefully get it up. Honestly, I hope to have it up before, but we've had some scheduling issues here at the house. But I had a great time. I hope that all of you guys had a good time. I know this one went long, but honestly, I was in it. So, hey, Taters, you're still there? You're up late. Get to bed. Good night, Taters. Everybody, thank you so much. Very much enjoyed myself, as I said. Good night. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, leave a comment, even if it's just with an emoji. Or if you're feeling really generous, check out my Patreon or Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. You can become a subscriber or leave me a one-time tip. And that's it. Be good to yourself. Nope, that's the wrong button too. Gosh darn it. What is wrong with me? How do I get out of here? Whatever. Okay, I'm clearly having some technical issues. So, this is it. The end. Oh, now I know why it didn't work. It was supposed to go straight to my end credits. I really wasn't prepared for this one, so bye. Ah.